behind the scenes prior to the Sketcho Show podcast.
There was a holiday, motherfucker, I wouldn't even come in on Friday. I'd be like,
you tracking?
No. Stevie Wonder did not let us do
At KJLH?
No. Everything was live. The only show that was not live was Steve Harvey. He wanted to hear every flubber, every mistake.
Right.
He knew, like, if I had to leave early, let's say when Brooklyn was little, like for her, I don't know, performance or award ceremony, he knew when I'd live track. He would call me the next day and he'd be like, you weren't live on for the last hour, were you? And I would be like,
Steve Harvey.
No, sir. And he would be like, okay. Where were you? I said, I had to go to my daughter's.
Did he go, I heard you on my way to the barber shop where I get my hair cut 17 times a day.
Now you're talking about Steve Harvey. I'm talking about Stevie Wonder.
Oh, my bad. I thought you meant Harvey. My bad. Sorry.
No, Stevie Wonder likes...
But Harvey was at 100.3 The Beat when you were there, right?
Yes.
Obviously. So I just wonder if he had any... a weigh-in on certain things and how other talent outside of his show would conduct themselves on air.
I went to KJLH. I always said Steve Harvey followed me because I was always at the station first and then he would follow.
Right.
And I'd be like,
I just remember when he told Big one time, and this is before we found out that Steve was wearing a hairpiece.
Right.
Through Cedric the Entertainer, mind you. This is like, back then, this is like TMZ solid proof. If Cedric is saying it, it's true.
Yes.
Because he traveled with him. There was rumors, but I remember when Steve Harvey came in as a guest before he even got his own show. This is way early on. And he was like, I'll tell you, I get my hair cut 17 times a week. And we're like, wow. And what about the mustache? Oh, I have to trim my mustache or have my assistants trim my mustache at least 4 times an hour. And we're like, what? And then a few years later, the news is broke. And I remember you even told me you saw his hairpiece coming down like Darth Vader's helmet.
That is true. No, that is true. I saw it on the Montel Williams show. I walked in. I was supposed to go to the restroom. I walked into this room and I see him with his barber, James, and he was gluing on that hairpiece. And I went,
gluing.
Okay. He was positioning it. I don't know how much glue was on it, but he was positioning it, and he would always say, oh, yeah, this is my hair. This is my hair. We'd be like,
come on, man.
Come on.
That's like if I showed up with a full set of hair and was like, hey, what's up? Like, yeah, no, did you have like a drop top receding hairline sketch? Nope, I get my hair cut 14 times a month. Like, well, come on. All right, should we start the podcast?
Yes, we should.
Let's do this.
The Sketchomatic Show.
It's a Sketcho Show podcast with another episode. In this one, I am truly honored.
Sketchomatic.
Honored. All caps. All caps, no cap, as the young kids say. My honor of having this guest on, finally, episode 62 of the Sketcho Show podcast.
Sketchy.
And I'm taking it way back with a very wonderful, lovely woman who I've known since I was in my teens.
Oh my God.
And she is here today. She co-hosts on KFI's Mo Kelly show, which comes on every weekday, but you're on Fridays. And that's on KFI AM640, Mo Kelly show, which comes on after, who's on before him? Tim Conway Jr. is on before him.
Yes.
So my special guest in the house tonight, please welcome, for the first time on the Sketcho Show podcast, Nautica de la Cruz.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Nautica de la Silk.
Yes.
What's going on, Nautica? Oh my God, it's been decades. Well, how long has it been since I've seen you?
Well,
I know when I saw you last, by the way.
Okay, so I want to say at least 15 years.
The last time I saw you was at a birthday party off Cahuenga. I think it was either your birthday or your former. It was your birthday.
Yes.
And I remember that was like the last time. And then before that was a cookout barbecue in your backyard when you guys would host those little backyard shindigs with the pirate ship barbecue whoop-de-bam.
Correct.
And that was the last shindig I was invited to.
Okay, then that one was probably about maybe 8 to 10 years ago.
At least.
Yes.
Something like that. Man.
It's good to see you.
It's great to see you. It's good to be seen and not viewed, as Fuzzy would always say. Unless you're on YouTube, see, because you want the views. All right. Nautica de la Cruz.
Yes.
I am just ecstatic that the history we share is quite extensive in radio and as friends, as colleagues. You helped me get my job. I remember, I got to put this out there right now before we get into the interview part of the pod. I just want to brush up on some of the history for the people, for the listener right now. Of
course.
Nautica and I met back at Power 106 in the late 90s. Like I said at the top of the pod, I was in my teens. I was about 18 or 19 years old when I started crushing on Nautica de la Cruz very hard, very, very hard. Got to understand this. And then we were coworkers, and we worked together for a while at Power. She departed Power to pursue her radio career in other radio stations, which we'll talk about as well. But then I had moved to Miami, Florida in the early year 2004, I believe. And as much as I liked Miami, it's not my brand. Okay, there's no disrespect to Miami. Love it. The women are gorgeous. Oh, my God. It's like they're like aliens. Me, I'm invisible in Miami, okay? Nobody saw me, and I get love in L.A. I wanted to come home so bad, Nautica. I remember I was physically homesick working in Miami. And I was only out there for 6 months, which felt like 6 years, okay? Then an opportunity came up for an imaging director position at 100.3 The Beat. This is by the time The Beat had switched from 92.3, which is now real 92.3. But before all that, before iHeart even, they switched over to 100.3. And it was my ticket back to LA. And Nautica called me in Miami on I think it was like 4 months in I was there. And I remember the day you called me, Nautica. I remember it vividly. I'm sitting in the studio at the Clear Channel building in at Miramar, Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yes.
And I remember I answered the phone and I was so just like, hey, what's going on? You're like, Sketch, there's an opening for the imaging director position. Where are you? I said, I'm in Miami. And you're like, don't tell them that. You told me. Because your number still says 818.
Right.
And I remember I pulled off one of the greatest heists. It was like a heist.
Right.
I faked that I was still in LA to Tom Calicochi and at the time Hideo. Shout out to Hideo. Rest in peace, Hideo.
Yes.
And who else was there? It was just the three of you. It was Tom Calicochi, you who were campaigning for me, and Hideo, I was communicating with as far as what I was supposed to make. So then make a long story longer. I did the promo demo as they asked. I remember it was something like West Coast Dr. Dre shit. And I fucking killed it. Mm-hmm. Killed it. Sent it. Both Hideo and Calicochi responded, this is fire. And then they had me make one more thing. And I was up against some guy, another gentleman in Texas somewhere. I don't remember what station. I forget his name. But in any case, I sent in the last piece and they call. And then I remember Tom called me and he was like, when can we meet? And I remember I took a vacation from Miami and I came out here for a week.
Yes.
And I rolled up to the station and I met with you. I said hi to you and I met Tom for the first time. We sat down and he hired me on the spot. And he was like, it's the Tom and Sketch show now. And I was like, okay. And he goes, when can you start? I said, well, I'm helping my sister move, which is a total bullshit lie. Right? My sister was moving, but I had nothing to do with it.
You had to move back.
I had to move back, and I did. And by the time Tom was leaving 100.3 The Beat, he asked me, he goes, hey, are you the Sketch that was in Miami? I said, yeah. And he goes, I knew it. He goes, good move on not saying anything. And I said,
I told you.
Woo! A Sketcho Show podcast, heist exclusive. Well, Nautica, I mean, listen, I'm just very grateful that if it wasn't for you, I probably would still be in Miami right now.
You're very welcome.
I feel like it was meant to be, and you really helped me out. And although the time at 100.3 was short-lived, obviously the station flipped and went through major changes, blah, 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 blah. You left. It was a whole, spiraling down type of scenario within radio. And luckily, I was able to come back to work with Big right after that all happened. But I remember even telling Big, and everybody. I was like, Nautica saved me. She threw me this lifeline, and I've never really properly had a chance to thank you for it publicly. And so this podcast and this little piece is just for you, just for that.
Thank you so much. You know, I've always loved your work.
Thank you.
I've always thought that your work is phenomenal, and there's really no one like you in the same genre. I could probably put you like, Double E. I love Double E.
Oh, those guys are icons. John Frost, Double E. Those,
right.
Yeah, those are icons.
But I'm saying in our generation of 50 years of hip hop,
right.
You are the guy, the imaging guy. And
Quasi.
And Quasi. Yeah. I love Quasi. Quasi.
The quiet giant.
Right?
Martial arts quiet giant. The ninja. The guy can literally dismantle you physically and imaging wise.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But both of you have these amazing skills and this talent. And my thing is, when you really make a connection with someone and a friendship, you always think of them in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? It's like Tawala.
Tawala Sharp.
Tawala would always go, I don't know how I'm going to get you at KFI as a contributor, but I'm going to get you here. Yeah. And I don't know if it's going to be through the front door or through the back door, but I'm almost a year in, and I'm so grateful.
It's been a year already?
Almost a year,
I feel like it's only been like 6 months, honestly. And this is how long I was thinking about getting you on here. Because once I had heard and saw your post about you being on KFI, I wasn't sure when or how it was happening.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not in the building anymore. When we're talking off pod, I work from home.
Yes.
So nobody tells me anything.
Okay.
It's like The Soprano. Nobody knows anything. Right?
Forget about
it over here.
Get the fuck out of here.
I remember seeing it, hearing it, and I saw Tawala finally. I ran into him one day. I said, Nautica, what's the deal? Is she here now? He goes, yeah, Fridays. I said, dude, I want to say hi to her. I want to get her on the podcast. But I got to ask her in person. I haven't talked to her in a while, and I just feel, like I said, it's a little disingenuous. You just reach out to somebody after many, many years, and you're like, hey, can I get you on the podcast? It's like, well, can we talk a little first? So, but then I took the risk, and I reached out on IG to you, and I was like, yo, I know I've been meaning to ask you this, so da-da-da. But getting you on KFI, tell us how that all transpired. Like, what was obviously Tawala Sharp, going back to 100.3 The Beat. He was a music director. Now he's Mo Kelly on KFI AM640. He's a producer and on-air talent with Mo Kelly. Obviously, your relationship with Tawala, going back to 100.3, was a bridge, but how did he pull the string? Can we even talk about it?
Yes, we can talk about it. Let's just
talk.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's lay it on the table. So about 2 years ago, the news director, Chris Little, had hit me up, and Tawala had referred him to me. And he said, we had a conversation over the phone, and he asked me if I could do an air check. And I was like, great. So I sent it to him. He followed up. Then he said he was going to follow up, and he never did. So I don't know, something happened, and I guess he was looking for another, news anchor. And so Tawala and Mo said, hey, we've been telling you, get Nautica de la Cruz. She knows radio, she's professional. And so he was like, oh, and so Tawala said, you already interviewed her, like you already talked to her. She already sent you the air check.
Right.
He goes, he did? She did? And so I guess he called back, and he said, I am so sorry, Nautica. I dropped the ball. You did, blah, 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 this and that. He goes, I don't have any openings right now, but you are on the list. I said, okay. I said, well, I thought you ghosted me.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm so sorry. I apologize. And
a little
said,
ghost.
Wow. Right.
See, thank you. I'll be here till they fire me.
And I said, wait. I said, you're calling me now? I said, okay.
How long was it?
This was last year.
But I mean, how long between you sending in the air check to hearing back from Chris Little?
2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
Holy shit.
2 years.
And that was probably pre-pandemic, or when did you send in the air check? During the pandemic?
I sent in the early 2021.
Okay, so we were just kind of barely coming down.
Right.
I remember from that.
He said he was going to call me. He never did.
Right.
I got ghosted. I never got I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah.
It sounds accurate.
Then he called me exactly a year ago from the day we're doing this podcast.
Wow.
And he was like, I'm so sorry. I dropped the ball. I think he was so tired of Tawala and Mo Kelly going, listen, just hire this girl already, right?
It's the move. It's the right move.
And still, he ghosted me again. He said I was going to call you. And so Tawala called me and said, hey, Nautica, by any chance, have you heard from Chris Little? And I said, he did. He said he was going to call me, but nothing. And he goes, you know what, Nautica? I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm just tired. You are my girl. You're professional. I love you. And I don't care if you're going to walk through the front door or the back door, but I'm going to get you in. And so someone had left as a contributor on Mo Kelly's show, or had made the announcement. And so on about December 20th of last year, Tawala calls me and say, hey, Nautica. And I said, yeah, what's up? He goes, listen, I need you to think of like 8 segments that you would love to do. And I need that before the end of the year. I said, okay. And he goes, that's your assignment. I said, all right. He goes, but, I want you to do, segments that you are interested in, that you like. And I was like, okay. So I let Christmas pass. I go to the Bay. I come back. And I'm sitting down on my computer, and literally I'm on my 7th idea, and Tawala texts me and he says, hey, Naughty, did you finish your assignment? I said, you will get it in like less than 3 minutes. I'm sending you an email. So I sent him the email. Within less than 3 minutes, he calls me back and he says, hey, Nautica, I like number 2 and I like number 4. What do you think? He goes, but I also like number 5 and I like number 8.
What were they about? Can you just a quick synopsis? Do you remember what the stories, the topics were?
They were all different. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. But he goes, so these are the top 4. He goes, but I need you to pick 2. And he goes, and then I'm going to need you to be here next Friday. You got to be here before 7 o'clock. He gives me the rundown. He goes, I'll meet you downstairs. This is the address to the station, blah, blah, blah. And I said, wait, well, hold up, what? He goes, yes, you're going to be here next Friday. I said, wait, what?
And they hired you, or he basically hired you? How? Okay, keep going.
So I'm a contributor, which means I don't get paid. You see what I mean? But, hopefully in the future, there will be something great here for me.
But you are a contributor on air, which is dope. I mean, that's still dope. And you're only on Friday, so it's not like they're totally, milking you for free content. It's kind of like it's your way in,
It's nice to keep your name in radio. I mean, I've been doing my podcast, the FrequenShe Podcast, for over 3 years.
What's it called again?
The FrequenShe.
FrequenShe. Why FrequenShe?
Because it's 2 girls.
But where did the chi come from?
The she, because...
Oh, she. FrequenShe. I thought you meant chi.
No, not chi. No, this isn't a chia pet. FrequenShe Podcast. So, radio has frequencies, right? AM, FM. And so when we were thinking about the name, we were like, hey, FrequenShe. It's 2 girls, right? Yeah. So I always have to emphasize it's the she.
Gotcha.
But anyways, so I love radio.
Right.
Of course, we all would like a check, but it gets your name out. It gets you to work with new people. It also gets you to be around the people that you have grown up in radio. And it just kind of keeps you, steady on the bicycle. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you never know what kind of blessings God is going to send you.
Keeps you working that muscle out.
Exactly.
For sure.
And I've been here and I contribute. I do 2 segments on Mo Kelly's show Friday nights. It's called Friday Nights with Nautica de la Cruz. Oh. So I do a segment called Discover SoCal. So I go to different museums, different pop-ups, different restaurants here in LA. And then the second one is Hidden Gems. So I find people, or I'm recommended to people, or I know people that are tied with a nonprofit organization. And so I tell a little bit about their story and how they connected with this nonprofit organization. I didn't know there's about 5,000 nonprofit organizations just here in the Los Angeles area.
Really?
I'm serious.
And you're covering all of them.
Well, I'm trying. You know what I mean? But some of them just have great stories and how they partnered up with the nonprofits, or if they came from a nonprofit because of, homelessness or foster care. So it's great. I love Mo. Mo has a great personality and he's such a good human being, and so is Tawala too.
Let me ask you, please tell me we have a clip of both of the aforementioned segments that we can hit real quick. Can you send me a clip?
Yeah, actually.
A couple of clips?
Yes, I can.
Let's hit a clip. This first clip is...
Discover SoCal.
Friday nights with Nautica de la Cruz. Where did you go this week?
Well, this week in Discover SoCal, I went to Ramona Museum of California. It's Ramona Parlo number 109, Native Sons of the Golden West. Now, the Ramona Museum of California is a very charming local museum that highlights the rich history of the region. Located in the heart of San Gabriel, this museum was established to preserve and showcase artifacts and stories related to the early settlers and the Native American tribes.
Great clip. And then the second of the nonprofits that you covered that we're going to hit right now. What do you got?
It's called Hidden Gem, Girls Inc. LA.
Girls Inc. LA.
This week's Hidden Gem is Daniela Rojas. Daniela Rojas grew up in the heart of Los Angeles, navigating the challenges of the foster care system from a young age. Bouncing between homes, she often felt like she didn't belong. And with every new school or every new family, the uncertainty weighed heavier, driven by a deep desire to lift up young people who have also felt like they have been lost. During the second year in college, Daniela learned about Girls Inc. of Los Angeles, a nonprofit focused on empowering young women to be strong, smart, and bold. Their mission caught their attention immediately. Having been through the foster care system herself, Daniela knew the importance of having role models, and she wanted to be one.
Well, that's fantastic, Nautica. I mean, getting those segments, getting in with Tawala, getting on KFI. I mean, it's the biggest AM radio station in the Western Hemisphere, hands down.
Yes,
it's been around. By the way, did you know what KFI stands for? You're really good at the radio history,
right?
Like Marconi and how radio was. I remember you used to test your interns. You used to give them tests. I remember that.
Yes.
And that whole part of you, which I admired because I learned a lot about radio just from overhearing those conversations with you and the interns back at 100.3 and learning, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And I, Google certain things and go, oh, okay. But, so do you know what KFI stands for? KFI stands for, the K is for kilohertz. FI is Farmers Information.
Wow.
So that's AM640 was essentially originally like just a farmer's, because in the 1920s, that's how long it's been around.
Wow.
It's been around for, I would say, almost 100 years, if not over by now. That's got to be like one of the oldest radio stations in the West Coast or on the Western Hemisphere, west of the Mississippi, because everything east of the Mississippi changes to W, which is wattage, right?
Right.
Like WNBC, right? WNBC. Anyway.
All right, Howard Stern.
Yeah, of course. One of the, I would say Howard Stern, as I said before on this podcast, as a quick sidebar, Howard Stern is the very reason why we're even doing this now. And people who don't know who Howard is because they're too young, they don't even know that it's because of him that all of this exists.
That's
like
true.
This open forum conversation. It's because he did it first, period. Nobody brought like their own stories or just talking like as just like a hang to radio until he did. Before that, it was very strict and FCC rules and this, and you couldn't do that. He broke all those rules.
Yes, he did.
And got crucified for it.
He did.
But then now you got Joe Rogan. All the other podcasts exist now because of how Howard Stern paved the way for that open forum conversation. Just a quick little history lesson on Howard Stern. But yeah, KFI. I mean, did you ever think that you would end up on KFI AM640 in all your years of being on Power, on 100.3 The Beat, and on KJLH? Now you're here and you're doing news segments with Tawala. I mean, it's just weird how the universe works like that, right?
Well, you know what, Sketch-O-Matic, you have to grow with the times. I cannot be 60 years old still at a hip hop station.
Please
I'm not
don't
60,
tell me
by the way.
you're
I'm
not
not.
60.
No, I'm
No,
not.
no,
I'm
you're
not
not.
60.
Right.
No. But, I started at a Spanish radio station. I also worked at a college radio station when I was coming up, and then I came here to Power 106, which was strictly hip hop, where hip hop lives. That was a slogan.
Right.
Then after that, I went to 93.5 KDAY for less than a year, probably about
That
a
was
year.
the first version of KDAY.
The first version. They were LMA, a Magic Broadcasting owned them.
It was over off Pico near the golf course, right?
Yeah, it was I'm sorry. It was on Wilshire and Highland.
They had already moved.
They had
I remember
already
they
moved.
started off like Pico near the golf course.
Correct.
And it was in this La Raza station,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Yeah, and Anthony, I think, was the PD at the time. He was a shaky guy. He kind of reminded me of Montgomery Burns. Real shaky. Even the way he shook your hand, it was like real dainty. Not saying, anything. It's just he just didn't have like a firm grip. His hands were sweaty. I was like, what's up with this guy? And I'm like, this guy's in charge?
I get you.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out to Anthony wherever you are.
And then from 93.5 KDAY, I went to KJLH. But the funny thing is, here's a piece of history no one knows. So before I went to KJLH, I'm sorry. I had just signed my contract at KJLH. I went to the station, I signed it, and my family and I were taking a road trip to Arizona. As we are about to enter Arizona, I get this phone call. And it's a 310 number. And I don't know this person, but I answer all phone calls. And so they called and they said, "Hi, is this Nautica de la Cruz?" And I said, "Yeah, this is her speaking." And I can't remember his name, but I want to say it was Miguel something. And he goes, we'll say Miguel. He's like, "This is Miguel, the music director, APD at Latino 96.3. And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "Nautica, I have been looking for your number for days." He said, "I had to ask people on Facebook. I had to ask other radio personalities, like, do you have Nautica de la Cruz's number?" And I said, "Okay, well, how can I help you?" And he goes, "We need a new morning show, and we want a Latina, and we want someone who's vibrant, who has a good personality, who has a great name in Los Angeles." And he just goes on and on and on. And I'm like, and I'm going, I'm that girl. I'm that girl. And I said, "Okay." He goes, "So I was wondering, when can you come into the station where you can meet the program director and we could sit down, we could talk about numbers?" Like he's just planning everything out, right? But this is all over the phone.
Right.
And I said, And he goes, "Well, when can you come in?" And I said, "Listen," I said, "I would love the opportunity, but you are $1 short and a minute late." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I am on my way to Arizona. I'm about to cross over the border here." And I said, "But I just came from KJLH and I just signed my contract."
Oh, man.
And so Miguel goes, "What? Are you kidding me?" "No."
Nothing
and
like it.
I said, "No, I did." He goes, No. Whatever they are paying you, we will double that." He's like, "You could get out of your contract." He's like, No. You just signed it. Like by Monday, you could reverse the whole deal.
Right.
And he's just trying to sell me on this. He's like, "How much are you making?" "Well, you know what? We will triple that."
What?
And I said, "Thank you, but no thank you," respectfully. I said, "I already gave my word to Stevie Wonder, who owns 102.3 KJLH." And I said, "I start soon." I said, but thank you. I said, like I said, you are $1 short and a minute late.
Damn, what did he say?
He was so bummed. He was like, "I'm going to call you back on Monday. Please rethink about it." I said, "There is no rethinking any offer."
Right. I'm not calling Stevie Wonder and going, "Hey, man."
Right? No. So then from KJLH, they made some changes there. I was there for almost 13 years. And then I took a break from radio, but I lent my voice to different radio stations, commercials.
Right. Voiceover
stuff. And then in 2020, 2020, we decided to, Amy Lopez and I decided to start a podcast. And here we are.
I feel terrible because I wasn't aware of your podcast. I'm sure you've posted it, but I watch most of your posts, and they're usually captions or positive reassurances, stuff like that. And I must have missed it because I'm a very big proponent of podcasts and podcasting and the craft of it. And I just like checking, especially people who have a very deep impact in my radio career and my life, such as yourself.
Thank you.
If they start a podcast, I'm all in. So I'll make sure to follow. One more time.
It's the FrequenShe Podcast. We're on Spotify and iTunes, and it's only 20 minutes. We only do a 20-minute podcast.
Really? Do you go over and then you have to edit it down, or what is it?
I think the most we've gone over is probably 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And we just got a letter today as we were recording. We got someone who wrote in and was like, hey, ladies, in 2025, can you expand it to 30 minutes? We were like, wait, hold up.
Are you getting sponsorship, ads? Do you make money, monetize off it?
Very little, but I don't really do it for the money. I do it mostly for the love of just the mic and the connection and the conversation. And sometimes there are topics that we want to talk about. And then there's goofy shit that we talk about. And, you know, we also get a lot of people who write us. Since, you know, it's kind of like that Dear Amy, since Amy is on the show too. But we have a really good time. And if there was a big way that I knew how to monetize, that's what I would do every single day.
You just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, you do.
Let me ask you, what's the pod mainly consist of? What do you guys talk about?
Relationships, women issues, life, motherhood, a little bit about everything, you know.
All in 20 minutes.
All in 20 minutes. One of the things I haven't talked about was my divorce, but I don't think I'm ready to talk about that yet. The ink will finally dry next month.
It's still pretty fresh.
It is, yeah.
Considering
fresh.
how long you two were together.
We were together 24 years, married almost 21.
And you knew each other before then?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
We met in 1996 and we finally divorced in 2023. But, you know, I've learned that some relationships are not forever. And also, you know, you just, you know, not everything is all bad.
Right.
When you're in a relationship, whether it's short term, long term, you always have to go, there was some good in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you remember those times and you try not to remember the bad, but sometimes the bad can put you in a position of sadness. But you have to move on eventually. And I think that I've experienced a lot of growth in the past 3 years.
Is that how long it's been?
No, he left us in 2020.
Okay.
He left his family in 2020, September of 2020. But there's been therapy, there's been growth, there's been moving, there's been getting bought out of your house that you lived in for 24 years.
Right.
There's been a lot of growth for me, and I'm happy. Do I see myself in another relationship? I'm not going to answer that. But I do say that, you know, being single and rediscovering who you are and also falling in love with yourself again is so fucking amazing.
I feel you on that.
It's amazing.
Well, one thing for sure, congrats on the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm going to check it out. I'm going to follow FrequenShe. 2, this podcast goes as long as I want it to. And sometimes I'll go, the longest I've gone is 3 hours.
Woo!
I went full Joe Rogan status.
Wow.
Minus any amount of money he makes. I have no sponsors. I have no ads I run on this podcast. I do it just like yourself out of the love and the craft for it and because I'm fucking good at it. The rest of I've said this before, the rest of my life outside of this podcast and radio work is one giant dumpster fire. But I'm okay with it. I'm like one of those fishes that lives at the bottom of the sea that feeds off the world's sulfur and you're like, how the fuck do they survive down there? Right. That's where I live. That's me. I'm one of those little fishy, sketchy fishies. Okay, and then the other thing is,
yes,
has, like you said, you've fallen in love with yourself. You've moved out of the house near Taco Bell Drive, as I always refer to it.
Yes,
because you lived right around the corner from Taco Bell. So lucky. You could even take a shortcut through that alley right there. If you were in your car, you pull it to the drive-through. Oh my God! If I lived there, I would be there every day. I don't really eat like that anymore, but I'll tell you, there's nothing like Taco Bell though. Especially when you're like, man, I don't feel like fucking cooking. What's open right now? Taco Bell. Yes, give me a cheesy gordita crunch. Oh, shut up, DA. Oh my God. But yeah. But since the divorce, and we don't have to get too deep, but I just wanted to ask you, like, you know, has it been difficult to fall in love with yourself and to kind of, because again, when you have been married for as long as you have, you raised a beautiful daughter together. Shout out to Brooklyn, right? Who's now in college, right? I followed your Instagram. I saw the day she was leaving. I cried a little for you just because I was like, I don't have any kids, but I know how hard it is to say goodbye for now to your child. Or at least I remember how hard it was for my mom to say when I moved to Miami, my mom was kind of bummed.
Right.
I wasn't around anymore. Not like I never went to college. I didn't even graduate from high school. But I remember when I moved to Miami, my mom was kind of bummed. So I can kind of sort of correlate the connection to that on how you must have felt. But I remember, I want to ask you since then, obviously that was difficult, but it's good. It's a positive thing that Brooklyn's in college and she's doing well. And then the divorce, but now you've moved out and you're doing well. You're on KFI, you're single, you have a podcast. And the option, the choice of falling in love again is still on the table. It's not off the table, right?
It's not off the table, but if I don't, it's okay. I've learned that as I've gotten older, I have less patience. And, when I met my ex-husband, I was in my 20s, and we're talking years later, and the dating scene is completely different.
My God. Tell me about
it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm not on apps, and I do not plan on being.
Never been
apps.
on an app.
Never been on an app. I don't.
Really?
I can't. I could barely take DMs in my freaking.
I know. I was scared to DM you.
But you have my phone number.
I totally forgot I did, to be honest, because that's how long it's been. And since Instagram is kind of like
the instant connection.
It's what I like is you can see if somebody read it.
Yeah, that's true.
But the trade-off is knowing they'll leave you on scene, which has happened to me several times from people that work here with me.
Right.
And I'm like, listen, dude, I'm going to see you at work. And then you're going to act like you didn't see my message. Or better yet, you're going to act offended.
Right.
That you see me in the hallway, but you didn't respond. So now it's my bad that you fucked up.
Right.
It's one of those. And I'm like, bro, how old are you? Can you just tell me I don't want to be on the podcast and let's move on with our lives?
Right.
Right. But,
oh, my goodness.
Yeah. But when I reached out to you, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it because I saw your post. You had sent something to me about one of my posts. You had sent me was it the coyote thing?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, she reached out. I'm just gonna ask her and see what happens, and
Always.
hopefully she won't leave me on scene.
Sketch, I am always here for you. But let's go back to DMs.
Go ahead.
My DMs are filled.
Really?
They're filled with
dudes.
With dudes.
Ah!
Hey. Oh, but the fucking lines. Hey, beautiful. How you doing, sexy? What's going on? What do you do? I'm like, motherfucker, can you look at where it says right there on the top? What do I do? Where I'm from?
Right.
It says New York to the Bay to LA. Oh, my bad. I didn't read that. Or, can I take you out for dinner? No.
And no.
You're lucky if I even respond back to you.
Or if you leave them on scene.
Right. But I will say this. I have made a promise to myself that I will meet one person a year, which doesn't matter. We could get to know each other. I don't mind making a new friend a year, but I just don't have the patience. What I do have the patience for is me, myself, and I, and my besties. And I'm talking Jennifer Werber, Kimberly Mueller, Candace Bohannon, Amy Lopez, Pia James.
Pia!
Yes.
Hi, Pia.
Pia's in Milan right now.
Really?
But, I love spending time with my girls. I really, really do. And they're my village. And if I'm not doing stuff by myself, I'm with my girlfriends, or I might be out with the male friend. We might be doing some fun stuff, or, catching a game, or, at a bar or something. But I still believe that connection is important. And I do believe that you should leave your bubble from time to time. Right. There is so much out there in the world.
Yeah.
And one of the things I will say this about what I do on KFI Friday nights with Nautica de la Cruz on KFI. So I have the segment that I told you about, Discover SoCal.
Right.
So I was that person that moved from New York to the Bay to LA. And when I lived here, when I was at Power, I really never left my 25-mile radius.
Right, Burbank.
Burbank, Pasadena, Glendale, North Hollywood, Tahunga, Studio City, Toluca Lake. But and I would go to things, but to me, it was because I was a wife and I was raising my daughter. If it didn't come with the check, I'll be damned, I wasn't going.
Right.
I went to I went to the club, that was because I was hosting.
You're doing
I was
an appearance.
the MC. I was
Right.
doing an appearance.
Right.
It was, if I was going to Gardena or Long Beach, it was because I was getting a check and I was doing an appearance or I was hosting something.
Right.
But since my whole life changed and my daughter I'm single and my daughter is off to college, I said to myself, when Tawala gave me the offer, I said, you know what? I am going to go out and discover SoCal. What does Southern California, other than Pasadena, Glendale, North Hollywood, and Burbank, has to offer?
Right.
And I've gone all the way to Riverside and San Bernardino, and I found museums, and I found pop-ups and new restaurants, and I love it.
It's dope.
And then my girl Jennifer and we go out on a lot of adventures, and Pia too, and we try new things. And sometimes you have to get your friends out of that bubble too, because you get caught up in work, and you're not having fun.
Right.
It's like, no, we got to do more than that.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
Next time you go on one of your girl adventures with the crew,
Yes.
I think you should take some mushrooms. You'll really rediscover yourself on that. And not a lot. You don't you microdose. You take a little bit. It's good for it's you know what mushroom psilocybin has been proven is that it remaps and builds new neural pathways in your brain. It's actually good for you. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it. Right. I've shroomed a few times in my life, and I always come back with something. It's like wringing out the wet rag for your brain.
I see.
It kind of reboots your system to a degree.
Okay.
And it makes you laugh. That's the beauty part. It's kind of like weed to a degree where you, and I'm not sure if you smoke weed. I don't think you really do anything other than have like a nice little Bay Breeze or something like that. But shrooms, when you're out in nature or on a hike, and you take like a little dose, like they have them in little chocolate bars and little squares. You just take a bite or two of that. And you'll feel it. And it just kind of helps you recenter yourself. It's like yoga for the mind.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of that.
I think, ask Pia. I mean, I'm sure Pia's probably popped a cap here and there, you know?
I'm not sure
she's
about
hip.
that.
She's a hip lady.
Oh, no, she's very, very hip.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my life in a nutshell. And,
That's pretty dope,
I
though.
enjoy it. And I'm always, that's the game of radio is you're always hustling. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, I need your voice on this, or I need you to this, or, and it's, you try to monetize from side hustles as much as possible, because radio is not what it used to be. When we were coming up in radio, all you really needed was one job and then those hosting jobs, and you were cool.
You were good.
Now, no, you need to have a show, and you need to be on YouTube, and you need to be on TikTok, and you need to do these side hustles, and you need to start your,
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans and Amazon front page, and sell shit on TikTok.
Right.
And, because you need many side hustles.
And I feel like radio will always, to a degree now, not like it used to be, pre-social media and pre-podcasting, but from where it was then to where it is now, there'll always be a place for radio as long as people are listening. It's free, it's terrestrial, meaning it's of Earth, meaning you can get it on a radio. Some people don't know what terrestrial means. And in case of a major earthquake or natural disaster, and let's say all Wi-Fi is knocked out, which it can be. We've all seen the movie Leave the World Behind.
Right.
And yeah, that shit can happen. And if it does happen, the only thing left is radio.
That is true.
That's why they're trying to keep radio in cars. I know there's a huge campaign still happening. Is that still happening on KFI? Do you talk about that at all? I
don't talk about it, but I think I've heard Mo and Tim talk about it. But
it's a big deal.
It is true. But the other thing that you were saying is, yes, radio will still be around. It's just not... Because there's so many choices now. There's Spotify, there's Pandora, there's, your music playlist that you have. And I know when we were coming up in radio, I used to get a lot of people go, why do you guys play so many commercials? Well, commercials is what keeps the lights on. It's my salary. It's Sketch's salary and so forth. So they never understood that part. But what I do like about iHeart is that they have gone to the digital platform, and a lot of other companies aren't really focused on the digital, and they don't know that digital is where money is at. And there's a whole nother department in radio, which is the digital marketing side. So they need to learn to cross over and see how they could get revenue from that. Terrestrial radio will still be around, but you have to cross over. And even if you are doing terrestrial radio, well, do a podcast on the side. Keep the momentum, keep your name out, just grow with the times. And that's something that I'm still learning, is trying to grow with the times. Because one of the things, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I really do. I like it as far as to keep up with friends and family, and I love funny shit, because I think
the memes are the best, and the animal videos, the dog videos, the cat, they're the best.
Love it. But it is also a job.
Yeah.
If you're doing social media for yourself, it's a job.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? I would rather hire somebody and pay them, $20 an hour and go, hey, can you just handle this for me? Because even editing videos.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to figure out how I could get guests to come over where I could film 2 people at one time and just be a straight shot instead of editing from person to person.
From one camera to next camera.
Exactly.
I feel you on that. Yeah.
I was doing some Googling on that. And also learn how to get into AI. I use AI every single freaking day. AI is my assistant. I'm like, do I have a question? Answer this. Can you answer this email for me? Or how would I write this in a text? Can you answer this for me?
Do you use ChatGPT?
I do.
I use it for this podcast. You want to know what I used it for?
What?
I asked, and I've been using ChatGPT for last few episodes, and I'll just type in, I just typed in your name. I said, I asked ChatGPT, what are some topics to talk about with Nautica de la Cruz on my podcast?
When interviewing Nautica de la Cruz, you could explore a range of topics, including 1. Her career journey, discuss how she got started in radio and broadcasting, her influences, and the challenges she faced as a Latina in the industry.
Wow.
And that's just number 1.
Wow.
There's 7 of them.
Oh, wow.
I'm just going to breeze through them because she talks kind of slow. So number 2 is impact of radio in the community. Talk about the role of radio in shaping and supporting the community, especially among underrepresented groups. I mean, it's deep. Number 3, music and entertainment industry insights. Dive into her experiences interviewing artists, covering events, and her take on how the industry has evolved. And then there's Latina representation in media, personal stories and milestones, adapting to new media, which you've already kind of covered.
Yes.
Advice for aspiring broadcasters, aka or / podcasters.
Yes.
And just getting into the broadcasting, no matter what medium it may be on, whether it's television, whether it's podcasting, commercials, voiceover, or on good old-fashioned radio. It's all here. And that's just from typing in your name. I didn't have to say, like, former broadcaster. It knew it. And I'm like, man, that's just free ChatGPT. ChatGPT 5, 6, what's that going to be like? It's
I don't know.
You might as well bring on AI ChatGPT 5 or whenever it comes out as another co-host on your podcast.
I'm for reals.
What have you used it for, and what has it done for you?
I use it to so I'm really harsh on emails, like responding.
Oh yeah, you too? We have that in common?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So what I do is, that's another thing. I'm working on a softer me, but I'm working on a softer me for my daughter, not for other people, because I'm very straightforward. Like, New York is in my heart.
I love it.
But LA is my home.
I love it.
But well, you've known me for a really long time, so I'm very quick. Like I'm one of those, I could chop you at your knees.
Yeah.
So when I'm responding to someone, I'll write it out like on ChatGPT, and I'll go, "Can you make this a little softer, but to the point?"
Right.
With a strong point. And I call her she.
Juniper.
Juniper. She responds back, and I'm like, That's not bad.
Right?
Okay, so I just copy and paste.
Yeah.
Also, when I do reviews on certain places, I just I write it myself in my own words, and I go, okay, do not take out the momentum of my story. Keep this, but maybe add a few adjectives here and there. And
She does it.
She does it. What else do I use it for? I use it for research.
Yeah.
I also use it for if I'm a little confused about what this website was about. I use it for, looking for jobs, remote jobs at home. Just little things.
Just
here
little
and there.
thing. And it helps. It comes through.
You could look up everything. Actually, I saw this commercial that says AI should be helping you open your own business. And I was like, damn. That's right. Okay.
We're just a few years away from President AI, I think. Just like Rogan talks about that all the time, where he's like, dude, I think President AI might be the answer because it will be without any of the human bullshit or selfishness or greed or playing to placating to specific parties or virtue signaling, all that shit is gone.
Yeah.
And AI will just be like, this is how you could do it, and this is how it has to be done. These are the numbers, and that's how it's going to be.
I want to talk about something that Juniper said about being a Latina in radio. I feel that when I was coming up, there wasn't too many. Right. There is a little bit more Latina representation now, but I also feel that, you know, there's this situation going on with inclusion and
the DEI thing.
Yes. And also, I think we need to go back to being inclusive and adding more people of color to programming.
Right. I remember you said that way back at Power.
I did.
When Jimmy Steele became programmed, and you were like, in the meeting, you're like, yo, when are we going to see a PD of color? And everybody's like,
And did Power ever see it? No.
Only E-Man for a short,
but
no pun intended, but for a short interim
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, you know, let's talk about even here. You don't have too many. You have Doc, but do you have a Latino program director?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I think that some stations add a Latino here or an African American just to say, oh, well, we've added inclusion, you know, we've added some people of color, but they don't get the same treatment as a Caucasian does. But you put us on the sideline.
Right.
We're and our numbers are good. And we're doing a fabulous job, but you're putting us on the sidelines. But going back to something else that Juniper said.
Go ahead.
I think that people who want to start in broadcasting, yes, take some classes. You don't have to major in broadcasting like I did. I was an RTVF major, radio, television, and film, minored in theater. But podcasting is the future. And I will say there are classes, and I would love to teach a class maybe at a college of how to deliver, how to talk. I can't teach you personality. You either have a personality or you don't. You're either funny or you're not.
That's what Guru said from Gangstar. You either got it or you don't, son.
You don't, son.
You either got it or you don't, son. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you can't teach personality, but you could teach people certain etiquettes, certain traits to go, hey, you know, this is how you ask a question, or try this, or listen, so you could kind of spin off another question from their answer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I love that. I love teaching, and I had interns for almost 20 years. I'll give you a perfect example. Cece from 93.5 KDAY was my intern.
Yeah.
Trey from Z90, who's still there, was my intern, one of my first interns. Cece was my second intern.
Was Corn Dog ever...
Corn Dog was never my intern. Okay. Spicy Mighty, who was at 92.3 The Real back in the day, a few years ago, she was my intern. Chuck Dizzle from 92.3.
Yep.
He was my intern.
And 100.3, right? Didn't he intern for you as well? Or was he just on promotions at that time?
He was at 100.3. He was on, he was promotions, but he came into intern because he wanted to learn.
Yeah, now he's on air here at Real 92.3. Grown-ass man with a kid.
I told him not to give up, to give up. So I have to say that I pat myself on the back. Actor Manny Montana, it was one of my interns.
I got one. Can I interject one that has made a significant impact on the DJ culture and also in my life?
Yes.
Vice
DJ
wasn't an intern for you.
No,
but he was
my
your
DJ. Yes.
In the Nautica at Noon mix. What was it called?
What was it? I think it was
Nautica Nooner.
Nautica Nooner.
Woo! He was there, and I remember that's where he started.
Yeah.
And he became who he is now.
Yeah.
It started on your show. I mean, obviously he did different shifts on Friday Night Flavors. He would do weekends and stuff, but it really started on that noon slot on Nautica de la Cruz show.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, you know. And I remember. Well, I can walk down memory lane more, but I don't want to cut you off. What you were saying?
That's okay. No, I mean, but that's the thing. You want to teach people, because we also are living in a society where people like to gatekeep, and I don't think we should gatekeep. You know, I am not going to be here forever,
right? So
I want to expand and teach people.
Right.
Yessie Ortiz. You know, I remember her and I speaking one time, and I met her in Vegas when she was at KVEG or something. And she was like, I've always admired you. And I said, listen, keep it up. I gave her some advice. And, from time to time we would talk, and I just loved it. I love that she would go, she took everything that I said to her and she took it and she used it in her work. And now she's doing other things, but she still has a love and passion for radio. Yeah. But she also has a love and passion for travel in the community, which is beautiful. So, we as personalities or whatever our profession is, don't gatekeep. Teach the next person.
And by gatekeeping, in other words, gatekeeping is like, when it comes to comedy, it always seems to be like a lot of the, I don't want to say older generation, but it would seem that the majority of the older generation of comedians don't really have, like you said, they gatekeep because they feel like there isn't enough allotted space for everybody to have a chance. Mm-hmm. Like you're somehow disrupting their flow of you being a newbie on the stage trying to come up. Now you're taking away from their allotted space, which is not accurate. Right. I understand where they're coming from to a degree, because at times I kind of feel like that, where I see new people coming in here to iHeart and they don't really know anything, and yet they're kind of getting a little bit more love and accolades, and they haven't done anything. And I'm like, what am I doing? Am I over here chopping up liver? What am I? What am I doing? I'm over here delivering quality work, tributes. Nobody's asking me for tributes. I'm fucking delivering and frying people's eyelashes off their face. And they're just like, yeah, it's all right. And then so-and-so ties their shoes, and they're like, oh my God, look at this. Post, like. And I'm just like, bro, that's the kind of gatekeeping thing that I don't like, but at the same time, because I'm such a nice guy, I am a nice guy. I could be a hard-edged motherfucker, and I could be an asshole. I can turn it on, but mostly I'm a nice guy. And when anybody comes to me for any advice or production, or even to go, Sketch, I heard you can make intros. Can you make me an intro? And I'm like, fuck. All right, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I do it. I just do it because I know that it takes balls for them to come and ask me.
Yes.
And they're willing to pay me. Most of the time, I'm just like, just fucking take it. Just take it. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, if you turn into somebody big, you'll remember where, me. Maybe.
Always.
Maybe. But I understand the gatekeeping thing is kind of just nonsense, especially now, because you want to pass on those skills to somebody who deserves it or who's hungry for it. The hunger part, if you're not hungry for it, don't waste my time. Right. But if you're hungry for it and you really want to learn, you got to put in those 10,000 hours or more. And you and I have definitely put in
a lot of hours.
I would say at least, I looked this up. I didn't ask ChatGPT, but I asked Alexa a long time ago when Alexa was still pretty popular.
Okay.
And I asked Alexa, I said, how many hours at the time I was doing it for 25, I've been doing this production radio for 25 years.
Okay.
250,000 hours or something like that, she said. I think I'm qualified, right? I think I made it.
Right.
But let me ask you this. When you go out and you interview people at the startups or at the nonprofits and such, what are you doing to record them? How are you recording them? And then are you editing the audio yourself and then it plays back on okay? What's that process like?
Well, I use, because it's like Vox Pro and it's easy, I use Twisted Wave.
Whoa, I never heard of that.
Oh, it's so easy.
Twisted Wave?
Twisted Wave. It's free.
Sounds like a band.
Right. No. And it's free and you could layer also...
Mac or Windows?
Mac. Yeah, Mac. But it's easy. So what I do is I come in live. And so I read my whatever I've written live. But for hidden gems, a lot of the people that I interview, it's most of the time it's on the phone or it's on Zoom. So if you are on Zoom, you get the audio. But then I'll listen back and then I'll type. But some people are a little too shy. Some people are like, oh, don't, even if I go, can I get this sound bite? They'll go, oh, no, please don't play my voice.
I hate my voice. Everybody says that. I hate my voice.
They always say that.
Right, but they talk every day.
Right?
It's like, what?
And it's funny because I laugh and I go, well, I used to hate listening to my voice on commercials. I'd be like, oh,
you cringe at it?
Yes, I'd cringe. I would always lower the volume in the studio.
Really?
No.
I like your voice. I like when you said daughter and you talk. Oh, I love it.
It's my New York words.
I love the New York accent. I love that. I don't know what it is. I wish LA had some cool shit like that. We have the most standard accent of all accents in the world to me. This side of the country, America has a lot of different dialects and stuff.
True.
And we'll get back to the recording thing, but I just want to interject that accents are my thing. Like,
Really?
I love British accents. Can you do a British accent? Can
I
we
don't
talk
know
a bit?
if I can. I don't know.
Yes! Keep going. Just talk like that for a second. Keep going.
Well, I can tell you that I went to the islands and I just had such a wonderful time. So, anyways.
That's so sweet. I like when they're like, that Nautica Cruz, she's quite a silky bird, is she not? I'd like to take her out for a bit of crumpets one night.
Right? Yeah, baby.
Hey now. So yeah, but the recording thing, they don't like to get in front of the mic, and I know that when a mic shows up, because you be having a conversation with somebody, and you're like, hey, can I get a sound? And they're like, yeah, and then you pull out the mic. It almost feels like, and I've seen this a million times, they think it's live. Even though they know it's not, to them, the mic presents this intimidation factor where they're just like, and I'm like, dude, it's not live. It's going to be edited. Just talk. Just pretend like it's not there. I get where those people are coming from. But are you still able to pull off the sound bites with the person that's shaking in their boots? Are you still able to?
I've had a few, yeah. I mean, I go through... I listen and then I use my judgment. I go, I don't know. And a lot of them either speak Spanish or also, their accents are pretty heavy, not understandable.
No subtitles running at the bottom.
Exactly. I had this one lady, she sounded like my mom, like Sofia Vergara. Well, I was supposed to do this and I found this organization. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, you know what? I'll just read it. And, but Mo is so sweet. I don't always have to have a soundbite. As long as I get the story across, it's important. But I do use Twisted Wave and I love it because it's a lot like Vox Pro. I need it simple, easy. I don't need so many tracks.
Right.
I don't need all that. And even when I do voiceovers, I always go, listen, I'm going to give it to you raw. That sounds nasty.
Hey now.
But I'm gonna give you the vocals raw.
Raw audio or raw vocals, right?
And then you master it. If you want to put in stereo, mono, however, different channels, whatever. And so, and then imaging is not my thing.
Right.
Just laying down the track, laying down the voices.
But when you go and you record, what are you recording on? Your phone? What is it?
No. Well, no. I have two. I have a Rode microphone, which I love, and then I have a Yeti.
The abominable snowman.
Yes, the abominable. I need that puffy thing that goes on top of it. The
mic or the popper stopper?
No, not the popper stopper. I need
the puffy thing.
The fuzzy one.
Oh, like they use for those boom mics?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
I don't know why I want one.
You just get on Amazon.
Okay.
They're just called like fuzzy popper stopper mic. That's all I'd look up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might accidentally look for fuzzy balls, but it's okay.
Fuzzy balls can work too.
But no, I mean, we all have to have some sort of skills in some way. So
well, that's a solid segment. It took 2 years for you to get in the building. It took me 4 years to get hired officially. I've been with Big since he came here.
Okay.
2015. I think it was February 2015.
Okay.
But then I was banned from the building for about 6 months, and that's an entirely different podcast, which I've talked a little bit about on this pod, but I'm not going to go into detail. It's just because it's a long story and it's kind of petty and stupid, and it's my fault. So I took full responsibility, and I got punished. And then by a twist of fate, you can't write shit like this. The same person who banned me is the same person who helped get me hired.
Wow.
It's just, what?
Wow.
You're obviously a lot sweeter, and even though you're straight to the point and you are from Brooklyn, right? Brooklyn, New York?
Correct.
And you have ChatGPT help you on toning down your email replies. I have the same issue. Trust me, I'm quick on the draw to be like, what the function are you talking about?
Exactly.
Immediately. But, sometimes I find the best response is no response or just a thumbs up or the letter K in lowercase.
Yeah.
K. After one of their long emails chewing me out, I just respond with K, which I think is just as equally as almost disrespectful.
Yeah. No,
right?
I agree.
But the anger issues that I have, which I've talked about on this pod, I don't know if you share anger issues, but because you cut to the chase, and obviously when emails or text can always and usually do get taken out of context.
Correct.
And somebody will apply a tone to a certain sentence or something that isn't there, but you didn't mean it like that, right? That's the problem I have. So I don't know how to change that other than just try to avoid confrontation.
Okay, well, here's my thing. This is how I read text sometimes, as some things can be misconstrued. So when I read the text or the response, and I'm like, first I go, what the fuck? Let me read this again. So I read it in my what the fuck kind of attitude, and then I go, okay, now let me read it just straightforward.
Out loud?
No emotion.
Yeah.
You know
out
what
loud,
I mean?
maybe?
Out loud, yeah. And so I'll read it and I go, okay. And then I'll follow up with, is this what you meant?
Right.
Da 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 da. And then the other person will, reply. And then they'll go, no, and that's not what I meant. And I go, okay, because I read it in this tone. And so it's kind of like I'm throwing it back to you to really kind of be more specific.
And clear it up.
Before I start barking again.
Yeah.
You understand?
Have you ever gotten any trouble for that? Like in the past before ChatGPT came in to help tone it down? Did you ever get into... Because I remember back in the day at 100.3 The Beat, when you departed, I didn't like the way it happened. And I let everybody know exactly how I felt.
Yes.
Everybody was on that fucking email. And I got a lot of accolades from people in sales, and other people were like, Sketch, I read that. You're a fucking gangster for that shit. And I'm like, well, it's true. She helped me get my job here, and she didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. What the fuck is that shit? And meanwhile, other people who haven't had the same amount of experience or dedication to the craft of radio got way more praise, roll out the red carpet, and I'm like, really? Yeah. That's when I knew. I was like, this is some shady shit. But I didn't really get checked on it, but now I would definitely probably get fired for it, without a doubt. Oh yeah. But yeah, it did feel good to stick up for you. I will say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, now it's been years later, but John's ex-basketball player, John Sally, was not very nice on the airways, but he did apologize. I did see him at one of our favorite Brooklyn-owned pizza spots on Melrose, and I went to go pick up 2 slices of pizza, and he was there with the redhead, his assistant at that time, and and I didn't want to talk to him, and she said, hey, John wants to talk to you. Can you sit at our table? And I'm like, I don't feel like there's anything to talk about. And he sat down. He's like, can you sit down? And I was like, yeah. Well, I was waiting for my pizza. And he said, Nautica. And he had gotten let go from
I remember.
And a little bit after me, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. They switched it out.
They switched it to V100. Right. And so I sat there and I'm like, okay, what does John Sally want to say to me? And so he said, can you sit down? And I said, sure. He goes, Nautica, I just want to say that you had the last laugh. And I said, And he said, because I had wrote this whole thing on Facebook about, not Facebook, was it MySpace? No, Facebook, I think.
It was Facebook, probably.
Facebook.
Yeah.
It was, I was like,
that was the beginning of Facebook.
It was the beginning of Facebook. I wrote something like, I am a professional broadcaster. I would never lay out anyone's dirty laundry, and I would never talk about their family or put down their children or put down their spouse. And I said, but you know what? There is this thing called karma, and karma will come and get you. And he read it. It got forward to everybody.
It went viral.
At that time, that was what viral was. Yeah. And so John Sally asked me to sit down. And he said, Nautica, he goes, I just want to let you know that you got the last laugh.
Wow.
And
how did that make you feel?
Oh, I was like, what do you mean? But even though I had already known that he had got let go.
Right.
And he goes, I just want to say I apologize.
Wow.
I apologize for saying what I said on the airwave. I apologize for talking about your daughter and your husband at that time.
That's wild. I didn't even know he said anything. I never heard that.
Of it.
What? Let's play it right now. I'm playing.
No, I don't know where it's at now. One of my computers, but I got a copy of the recording, and I was like, wow. And I was very offended. And
I'll bet.
And so he said, he goes, look, I wasn't in a good place. I was immature. No. And he goes, what I did was wrong. And I realized that I'm a father and I have children, and I wouldn't want anybody or my coworkers to talk about me on the airwaves like that. And I said, I said, I accept your apology. I said, I hope you never do that again.
To anybody.
To anyone.
Right.
I said, but you have to understand that in this line of work, in this business, it is small. And I said, and you never know when you're going to end up working with the other person.
Right.
And I said, and there's this thing called karma. And I said, but I will say that I heard you, and I said, and I accept your apology.
And you forgave him?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are you guys homies now?
I mean, we're all right.
Right.
When we see each other, we're very respectful. Hey, how you doing?
That's dope. I mean, at least he was man enough to apologize to you to your face.
Yeah, he was.
Like as opposed to writing it online or just texting you. It takes a certain kind of man to swallow crow and be like, hey man, I did you dirty and I was wrong and I'm sorry. I've had to apologize to like what feels like hundreds of people for my quick temper back in the day.
I've never had to apologize. Stevie Wonder once wanted me to apologize to one of the DJs that used to be on my show, and I didn't.
Really?
I didn't. But there's also a level of maturity. This particular DJ just didn't have the maturity, and he felt like I was always picking on him, and I just wanted him to be better.
Right.
And I mean, now he's out there doing big things, but it's just, sometimes you're paired with someone and it's just not a right fit.
It's not the chemistry ain't there.
It's not the chemistry.
Yeah.
It's not the right fit. And it's like, fuck, how many times do I have to tell this guy, let's do it this way because it's better for ratings or better for the show or whatever. But you also have to, if you're going to pair me up with someone, let me get to know them a little bit. And also let me tell them, like, this is how I like things done. This is, so forth. But sometimes you are paired with someone and you're like, fuck.
I know. It's rough.
Horrible.
That's why
rough.
I'm grateful that I get to work from home. As much as I do like coming in the building and being here amongst my coworkers and shooting the shit in the hallways and just, having those kind of just little conversations in the kitchen or whatever. Like, when I'm at home, I just feel like I'm at peace. And like I said, when we're walking around the station to you, I was like, nobody tells me anything and nobody really talks to me because they don't have to. Like, they know I'm going to do it. I'm there. I'm on Teams. My little green check mark is on, which means I'm available.
Right.
I don't take 20 to 30 minutes to respond to anybody. And if I do, it's for a very, very good reason that is probably out of my control. Mostly, I'm always around. And in the pros and cons that come with working from home and not having to be paired with somebody or work next to somebody or even near somebody that you just aren't vibing with. And that can always escalate. And I try to avoid all that shit now. I don't drink anymore. I don't party anymore. And I feel like because I sacrificed, I just gave up those things because it's not a sacrifice. I was doing myself a favor. But by doing so, I was able to reconfigure my attitude a bit because it was always like irritable sketch that was having to deal with people. It's hungover sketch that needed to get to the bar to have another drink because he's starting to shake and now he doesn't feel normal anymore. I have to drink just to feel normal. That's where it had gotten to. And even though I still turned in my work and I still did everything I was supposed to, I did it with like this monkey on my back, and having to be paired with somebody you're not vibing with is the worst shit possible, especially if you're coming into work and you're hungover from any substance, whatever it is. And being at work under fluorescent lights, hungover, is equivalent to torture. And then you got to deal with, Sandy down the hallway, not Sandy Steck in case you're listening. I'm just saying Sandy is a random generic name, or Bob or whatever. And you're working with, so-and-so who doesn't have a vibe or is just too square for your circular attitude or vice versa. Right. It always turns into some bullshit that I get blamed for. And working from home has freed me from that. So go ahead.
Well, you're also in your own environment. You're at peace. You don't have anyone around you.
Right.
And when you're paired with someone, I'll give you a perfect example. I left Power 106 to work with Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, hip-hop greats.
Yeah.
And they would always, they would fly out on Friday, come back on a red eye on Sunday, and come to work on Monday. And it was just energy that was like, oh my God, if I hear them complain about their wives one more time, I'm going to fucking scream. And then I worked with Steve Harvey and Shirley Strawberry and Dominique DePrima, and we were Steve Harvey and the Angels.
Yeah.
And the Angels got along well, but sometimes there were days where Steve Harvey was on and was not off. And then there were days where it's like he was grumpy and, and didn't want to, he would have trouble with, sometimes.
His hairpiece? Oh, sorry.
No, not his hairpiece. He would have trouble kind of concentrating, and we would go, radio is repetition.
Right.
And then I did the morning show with Guy Black at KJLH, and that was a different dynamic. I mean, he's a nice person, but when you have someone that comes from Mid-South, Midwest, South, it's kind of like, this is Los Angeles.
Right.
And I was his co-host, and I just felt like I really had nothing to prove. You know what I mean? I had been in LA already a long time, and it was like, people would go, okay, there's this guy, but we know Nautica, but who's this guy? You know what I mean? And then when I did middays, because I did middays at all stations. It's kind of nice when you work by yourself. If you have a DJ, great,
Right.
and most of the time I would go, hey, can I pick the DJ?
Right.
But, I had that one incident where I had a DJ for a short time, and that was just torture for me. But
What station?
it was at KJLH.
Really?
And, but at the end, it just, we did... I departed, and actually I was kind of happy, and I think they had, I'm not sure if they took him off the show. I can't remember, but I will say that energy is everything, and I like to come to work with the most positive energy I can. Even if I haven't slept that well or I was hungover, I'd be like, okay, I got to do a job, and I gotta do a show, and I gotta show the best, the best me in 3 hours or a 4 hour shift or whatever I can do.
Right.
But I also do like working with people, because I like banter, and
Sure.
I like, I don't know, I like to I like to agree to disagree at
Totally.
the same time.
I like the community, the camaraderie of it. I do like that. And you got to be around like-minded people. And even though you may agree to disagree, like you said, you got to lift each other up, like you said, because radio is repetition. Consistency builds branding, right?
Yes.
And everybody has to be on that. No matter how fucking hungover you are, you still got to act. That's where it's like your Hollywood acting chops got to come into play. When
tell
that
me
mic
about
comes
it.
on, it takes me back to David Morales. Remember him?
Oh my God. Yes.
That guy was the DJ's DJ. Now,
Yes.
anybody who's not familiar with David Morales, who was one of the OG DJs at Power 106 way back in the 90s, late 90s, I think even up to the early 2000s. Or no, he had already left by
already left, yeah.
But I would hear stories. I never met the guy, but I admired his work ethic on air. When I'd hear him go on air, that energy. And then I would hear after that he would come in hungover to Power. And they used to have a couch in the studio, in the
Yes,
control room.
I remember.
And I remember Ernie, who'd run the board.
Yes.
And he'd say, oh, man, Sketch. Morales used to come in and he'd crack the mic. It's Power 106, Morales. And he'd be like, all right, coming up this hour. And he'd hit the post, meaning he'd stop talking before the lyrics of the song would start. That's called hitting the post for anybody who doesn't know.
Right.
And he'd hit the post and then turn off the mic and take his headphones off and just crash on the couch until the next talk break, because that's how fucking hungover he was.
Wow.
But you would never ever know it, because that's how good he was. Yes.
And that's when you know you're good too. I used to do that sometimes, like it was either at the Beat or KJLH. I remember a few times I came into work the next day hung the fuck over. And I remember putting alarms on, or I would tell my intern, hey, run the board for me when it's time to, for me to talk, tap me on the shoulder. And I would be like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Slap yourself across the face.
Yes. Or I'd be like, okay, let's go get another cup of coffee.
Yeah. There was no Red Bull or Celsius
Oh, God,
then,
no.
right?
There was not.
Oh, no, Red Bull existed.
I think so, but I can't take
You're
that
not a
stuff.
Red Bull kind of gal. Or
No,
Celsius, right?
No,
right.
I can't. But you would leave your show freaking even more tired because you were pulling out energy out of your ass that you
Yes.
didn't even fucking have.
Yes.
And you'd be like, okay, I
You're
need
like
a nap.
sweating.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're like perspiring. And you know what's crazy? Every day I drank for years and I couldn't go without it. And now to think back, like, wow, how much time did I waste drinking, getting fucked up, wallowing in misery over a girl or over whatever relationship I was in. And now I look back and I'm like, man, It's a gift. It's a gift, and to be here with you right now doing this podcast is a gift, and it's a way. It's a replacement for that addiction because I'm addicted to doing podcasts. I like to fucking podcast. Let's go back to your podcast.
Okay.
I'm not even close to being done. I hope you have enough time.
Okay.
We're gonna go like a little bit longer.
Okay.
But I have so much more. We have to do a part 2. Okay. But let's go back to your podcast. Does FrequenShe have its own Instagram?
It does.
Okay, and it's at FrequenShe, right? FRINQ She.
FREQUEN.
What did I say? I was way off. One more time.
Okay, it's FREQUENSHE Podcast.
Got it.
And you can't miss it because our logo is a lipstick microphone.
Oh, okay. I'm going to follow it right now.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the podcast, how often do you release episodes?
Once a week. We do seasons, so it's 10 episodes per season. And then we take a hiatus, a week off. And then, yes, that is it.
I just followed FrequenShe.
And then we come back with another season. Every 10 episodes is a new season.
Gotcha. And what seasons are you up to now? Three or 4?
11.
11? Wait, so seasons are they by the year or just like half a year or something?
Half a year, kind of like half
every
a year.
6 months.
Exactly.
Okay. So you're getting 2 seasons a year,
yeah,
essentially,
pretty much.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's dope. And who's producing, editing, and all that shit? Who's doing it? You.
Me,
on
and me.
what's it called? What's that?
Twisted Wave.
Twisted Wave.
Yes.
It's like Twisted Sister.
I do it all. The only thing I don't handle is our social media. Amy handles that most of the time. I'll look, or might add something, but she's the one that does. So we record. I think of topics. After we record, I edit, but I also don't edit too much.
Right.
I've learned that a podcast should be natural.
Right.
Kind of like how KJLH was,
Organic.
Organic.
Leave all the
your flubbers.
Right.
Now if you cough, I'll take it out.
Sure.
If you sneeze, little shit. But it's mostly, if there's a long, dead air space,
right.
Whether, we were having difficulty because I'm at home. We used to be together at my house.
Right.
And we would be in one room with both roads and, just hook it up.
Right.
But now that she moved and she's a baseball mom, we record whenever practice is over. So most of the time she's in her car or she's at home in her office, and then I get the Zoom audio, and then I put it on Twisted Wave, and then I make it in stereo, and then I make it in mono, and then I edit most of the time the beginning and the end, and then whatever in between, and then I add the intro to it.
And you have an intro already? Who made the intro?
I did.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, Nautica taking a stab at imaging, huh?
Yes.
I might have to update that intro for you.
You know what? I would love that, actually.
Welcome to the FrequenShe Podcast with your hosts,
Nautica de la Cruz and Amy Lopez.
And then you hear the music. Do you have music, a theme?
Yes, her son made the music.
Okay.
But it's very simple, nothing extravagant.
Right. No, I like podcast intros. They're simple. I like them simple. That's how they should be. When I started my pod, I made a big old movie production intro, and I let it go for about a good 50 episodes, and then even added more in front of it. And then pretty soon I was like, you know what? This is too much.
It's too much.
Who's listening to all this shit? They're skipping right to the thing. Just go right in.
Yep.
There's a little sound effect, and then you hear, by the way, Yessie Ortiz, who gave me the intro drop, which goes,
The Sketch-O-Matic Show.
when I stepped it in front, so it goes,
The Sketch-O-Matic Show.
I ran it through T-Pain effect, which is essentially what auto-tune is, but T-Pain effect doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But auto-tune, Yessie Ortiz, goes right in, and then I play a little theme song, which is Disco Science by Mirwaz. I think I'm saying that right. It's from the movie soundtrack Snatch. And yeah, it's my shit now, and I love it. I love it. It's become my theme. Yeah, so I totally jacked it.
But it's just, a podcast should be just very simple, very organic.
Yeah.
And so I do everything, and then I load it up to RSS, and then I load it up to Spotify.
And it's on Spotify, Apple.
Yes, Apple, Google Podcasts.
Spotify for podcasters now services RSS feed distribution to iHeartRadio.
Oh, I need
for
to get
free.
on that. I need
because
to get on
before
that.
it used to only be Buzzsprout and
Yes.
one other that you had to pay a subscription for.
Okay.
Which isn't that expensive, but I'm like, yo, I'm not making any money off this podcast.
Okay.
I don't want to have to pay a subscription, so I just let it be on Spotify and Apple when Anchor was still doing the RSS.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Then it switched. Anchor is no longer. Spotify for Podcasters took over. And as I was helping Letty B, do you know Letty B?
I haven't met her, but I know of her.
Letty B was starting her own podcast, and I was helping her with it. And we were on the Spotify for Podcasters website. And she's like, well, what about iHeart? And I was like, oh, they don't have, and as I'm saying they don't have iHeart RSS, I scroll down and there's iHeart. They had just added it.
Okay, well, I need to add it then.
And now YouTube has their RSS feed distribution for free.
Wow.
All you have to do is copy that link in from Spotify for Podcasters.
Yes.
And it loads them automatically. And you don't. And every time you do a new episode, you don't have to. The only place you have to manually upload it is to Apple Podcasts. For me, at least, I have to go and refresh the page. It's a whole production. But YouTube and iHeart does it auto style.
See, when you have your RSS feed, your own, and you own it, that goes straight to Apple. That's why. So
I don't have
it's
one.
like $120 a year. It goes up every year, but it's easier for me.
It is.
But I will do the iHeart. I am trying to get on iHeart and also YouTube. And the thing about YouTube too is all you have to do is really show your logo. And,
That's it. I don't have the video thing.
Yeah, no,
there's no video for this podcast, even though I wish we did so that everybody could see your beautiful appeal and face. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You're too cute.
So adorable.
You're
Nautica,
too cute.
No matter how many years go by, Nautica, you're still just as gorgeous as you were when I met you way back in 97.
Well, thank you so much.
Woo! Nautica Della Silky, you will see her on the Instagram post. Okay, we're not close to getting done here.
Okay,
I'm not wrapping up.
Go.
I'm
What
not
else you
wrapping
got
up.
for me?
Oh my God. Let me think here. Well, not even think. I'm going to go to my notes here from Juniper.
Okay,
And let's
Juniper.
touch on another topic here. Oh yeah, this is something I wanted to ask you about was the music and entertainment industry insights, like diving into your experiences, interviewing artists, covering events, and your take on how the industry has evolved. But the artist aspect, you and I have met countless
Oh, my God.
artists.
So many.
Which one of them, I don't say just one, but which is the most standout that pops into your mind first? And it doesn't matter what station you're at, but just in general. And I don't know if Stevie Wonder qualifies, even though he's a fucking icon and he owns KJLH. He's still the owner of the station. So it's like he's kind of disqualified in a way.
We'll disqualify him.
But I will say my own Stevie Wonder story was when I met him at Power.
Okay.
And I remember that day so fucking vividly. He came up for Big Boy Show.
Okay.
And people from sales were in the hallway. Remember they had that window right outside before they switched sides when we were on the original side.
Right.
And there was that window you could look in the studio. And I remember some of the sales AE women were standing and two of them were crying because it's Stevie Wonder. They grew up to him and now he's here, and meaning at Power at the time. And I was like, wow, people are like so emotionally moved by this man. As was I. I didn't cry, but I will say that I walked up and allowed me to meet him. And I walked up and shook his hand, put out my hand, he put out his hand, and we shook hands. And he goes, hello, young man. And he goes, you mind if I touch your face? I said, nope. And I leaned in and he like ran his hand over my face and he was like, oh, very good looking young man. Thank you. And he was so sweet. And then I started crying.
Oh.
Yeah. Not right there. I went back to my studio and I called my mom and I was like, I just met Stevie Wonder. Oh my God. It was one of those moments. Now, what about you?
People do get that. And just because I worked for Stevie Wonder for almost 13 years, but I knew him 5 years prior to that. So I've known Stevie for 18 plus years.
How did you meet him? Did you meet him at Power?
No, I met him. Funny story. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready, please.
Okay, and this goes into how I ended up working at KJLH at his radio station.
Here we go. This is a Sketcho Show podcast exclusive.
Okay, so I was at 100.3 The Beat, And Stevie every single year does House Full of Toys. And so he goes to every single radio station here in Los Angeles and he promotes it. And he gathers toys.
Like Santa Stevie?
Yeah,
or
like Santa
Wonder?
Stevie, right? Santa Wonder. And so he came to the station, to 100.3 The Beat. And I remember the first time I met him, he came and, he sat with the Steve Harvey Show and we just had a great time. And that same day, as I was leaving, he was leaving. And I was like, oh, Stevie, we're catching the same elevator. And he was like, yeah. He goes, that's so nice. And he goes, oh, we started talking and blah, blah, blah. And as we get to the bottom of the elevator, he was like, Nautica. He goes, would you ever consider working for me? And I was like, oh, Stevie. I was like, I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know if you could afford me. Because I always heard that KJLH was a small radio station.
Obviously,
right?
Yeah.
So a few years passed by, and I started doing middays. And when I was doing middays, he would always listen to my show. And so... Middays at The Beat.
Okay,
remember when I did middays at The Beat?
Yeah, of course.
And so here comes Christmas again. And so this time he was going up to talk to Steve Harvey, and I had gotten on the elevator, and he was like, I said, Stevie, we bump into each other again. And he was like, Nautica de la Cruz. And I said, yes, sir. He goes, it's so good to see you. And I'm like,
Let me just say that. How dope is it that he recognized your voice?
Yeah,
for anybody who is living under a fucking rock who has no idea who Stevie Wonder is, you Gen Xers or Zers, whatever, Stevie Wonder's blind, okay? And that's why we're saying he touched your face and he recognized voices. I'm just imagining somebody's like, Stevie Wonder, who the fuck is that?
Right.
Obviously. And it's a disgrace to even have to mention who he is. But yeah, somebody is going to go, I heard of him, but I'm not sure. And then they're going to Google and go, oh, okay, I got it. So anyways, please continue.
So, and he's really good with voices.
Yeah.
He cannot see, but his hearing is amazing. He could hear a pin drop from like a mile away.
So dope.
So he says, Nautica de la Cruz. And I said, yes. I was like, Stevie, it's so good to see you. He's like, oh, so good to see you too. And so he was like, Nautica. He goes, what will it take for you to come and work for me? And I said, oh, Stevie, I don't know if you could afford me.
Wow.
And he was like, just think about it. All right. So when probably a few months after that, Alicia Keys was coming out.
Okay.
And it was the first time she was performing in LA. Ooh. And she did a performance on Highland. What is it? Hollywood and Highland.
Hollywood and Highland, yeah.
That club up there.
Yep. And
there was her record rep was like, hey, you guys got to come and see this girl. She's on the piano. She could sing. She could play, blah, blah, blah.
So this is the beginning of falling in and out of love, right?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
And so anyway, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go check out this girl on the piano. So I get there, and Stevie Wonder's at this booth. And so I sat at the end, but I never said hello to him because he was in between one of his bodyguards and someone else. I think it was his brother. Mm-hmm. And I never said hello, but I was watching the show. Mm-hmm. But the next day on the radio, I was talking about it. I was like, oh my God.
Right,
this
you're
girl recapping.
Right.
I was like, this girl, Alicia Keys, is amazing. I was like, she could play, she could sing, she's from my hometown, blah, 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 whatever.
She has nice teeth.
She has nice teeth, a beautiful smile. And I was like, and I said, the best part of my night was I was at Stevie Wonder's table. I said, booth. I said, he didn't know I was sitting there. Of course, he didn't see me, but I said, I didn't want to bother him. Well, he calls the hotline right after I finish talking about it. I said hello. He goes, Nautica de la Cruz, and I said yes. And he goes, Stevie Wonder. And I said, Stevie, how you doing? I was like, I was just talking about you. He goes, I know. And so he goes, how come you didn't say hello? And I said, because I didn't want to bother you. He goes, next time you're at an event and you don't say hello to me and you talk about it on the radio and I find out, he goes, we're going to have problems. You better say hello.
Oh my God, that is so dope.
So I was like, okay. The following year came along, he made me that same offer. Finally, they made changes at the station and I went to KDAY. Mm-hmm. And so I was at KDAY for about a year.
Right.
And that station was LMA. And so if you don't know what LMA means, it basically means like you're leasing the place. So they made changes there too. And I'm in the parking lot of KDAY on the Wilshire, in the Wilshire building. And I'm
Miracle Mile area.
Miracle Mile area. And I was like, fuck. I was like, all right, I better call up every program director, every music director, everyone I know. So I called everyone I knew and I said, you know what? I'm going to call Stevie Wonder. I called Stevie Wonder and I left him a message. And I said, hey, Stevie, it's Nautica de la Cruz. I said, from 93.5 KDAY. I said, you know, you have asked me many times if I could come to KJLH. And I said, I don't know if you could afford me. I said, but give me a phone, give me a call. Here's my number. I leave KDAY. It's a true story. I leave KDAY. From KDAY to my house, my former house, it took about 35 minutes. As I'm driving home, I park in the driveway, and I was about to turn off my car, turn the key, when my phone rings. And I said, hello. I didn't recognize the number. And I said, hello. And they said, which was Andre Russell, the program director. He goes, Nautica de la Cruz? And I said, yes.
I like how they address you by your full name.
And then I hear another voice, and it's Stevie's voice. He goes, Nautica de la Cruz? Woo. And I said, yes. And he goes, Stevie Wonder.
Again, you're like, yeah, I know.
And I said, Stevie, how are you? He said, when can you start?
Wow. He is gunning for you.
I was like, what? And so we're talking, and at that time, they were looking for a new morning show. And we're talking, and I said, well, Stevie, I don't know if you could afford me. I said, but have your peoples call my peoples.
Yeah, you said that to him a few times. I don't know if you can afford, which is the most gangster thing you could say to Stevie Wonder.
Well, you know, when you worked with Steve Harvey for so many years, you get on this pay grade, right? On the 6-figure pay grade, and you want to stay on that 6-figure pay grade. You know what I mean? I am not ungrateful. I've been very blessed. I am blessed to those that have helped me with either agents or recommendations. Big Boy is one of them.
Right.
I always say Big Boy is one of the many reasons why I was up in that pay grade, because he shared at that time Bob Eatman, which rest in peace, which was his agent.
Hello.
And he didn't want me to get screwed over at Power 106.
Wow.
So he shared his agent with me, and he shared his knowledge, and for that I will always be very
I never knew
grateful.
that.
Yeah.
Another exclusive.
Another exclusive.
Do you have an agent now? Do you operate with an agent, or are you just agent Nautica yourself?
I am agent. I am my own agent, secretary, executive assistant, producer, you know, tech girl, editor.
You're just doing it all Nautica
I'm a
style.
one-woman show.
Gotcha.
I really am.
That's
I
dope.
like to be in control of my own stuff, because
Same.
I feel that I don't want to put the blame on anybody but myself.
Right.
If I fucked up, and I take accountability for it.
Yeah.
But anyways, going back to my Stevie Wonder exclusive story.
Yeah.
So I gave him a call. He called my peoples. I met with the program director, and within 2 months we had made an agreement, got a contract signed, and the rest is history. I was there for 13 years. And
13?
I remember almost 13 years. And I remember him saying, he said to me, he goes, I have wanted you at my station for a very long time.
Did Stevie ever touch your face?
Oh, yes.
Isn't that
Yes.
amazing? How they can see with their hands? I mean,
he is, you know what? I really believe that he just has this gift of kind of, he may not see what you look like, but I think he imagines what your sound is and what your face may look like. Right. He always used to say, he goes, when I hear you on the radio, for some reason, he's like, you remind me of Minnie Rippleton. And I go, really? Wow. I was like, I didn't see the resemblance, but something must have happened.
That's what you must look like to Steve in Stevie's mind. What's
guess.
Minnie Rippleton?
Yeah, Minnie Rippleton.
Hold on, I'm going to look this up. I'm going to give it a goog. Hold on.
And so, but he was always very complimentary. You know, he has a great sense of humor.
By the way, you don't look like Minnie Riperton at all.
No, I
Not
didn't
at
think
all.
so. I didn't think so.
But she
I
looks
think
like
it was-
she is kind and very outgoing and has the same kind of enthusiasm and effervescent type of
Yes.
attitude, scintillating when you talk.
Right.
I get that. So
Right.
go ahead.
But I don't know if it was her voice or something. He said that something.
It connected him to you. It was like
Exactly.
it gave him a comforting feeling. Because I remember when I first heard you on the air, I was working at Groove Radio in Santa Monica way back in 97. And I was
Okay.
just starting in major market radio, even though that wasn't like a huge major market radio station. It was still in LA and it was competing with KISS and kind of with Power at the same time. Because that's when Power was playing EDM. Well, actually, it wasn't EDM. It was just house music back then. EDM that saying didn't exist yet. But I remember I would get off work, and I would leave and get in my car and I'd listen to you and I'd hear you and I was like, man, she sounds hot. And I didn't know what you looked like. There was no Google yet. There was no Instagram.
No.
I just knew. I was like, wow, she sounds super hot.
We barely knew what the web was.
Yeah, the web it was still the web.
Right?
People were still using www.
The World Wide
Oh
Web.
my God, it's wild. But yeah, so he hires you for 13 years. Does Stevie Wonder still own KJLH?
He does.
He does.
He's-
and you did mornings there?
I started off in mornings
Mm-hmm.
and then I did middays.
And who's there now?
Well,
Or does it matter?
The
Should we-
lineup
Okay.
is still there. Steve, let me see. Steve Harvey still does mornings.
Really?
And Shirley there. And they have a local girl. Lon McHugh did the long shift, so he does kind of middays, early afternoon. Tammy Mack is on in the afternoon.
Okay.
So, I mean, I still talk to my peers there.
How
It's
do they
wonderful.
feel about you being on with Mo Kelly Tawala on KFI AM640?
They all give me love.
Yeah?
You know, Donna Michi, Tammy Mack, all of them, Bobo, they all give me love. You know, they the personalities, I will say, not the executives, but the personalities, they like to see each other grow. They were always very supportive,
That's
but
dope.
everybody in the back room, there were, I don't work there anymore. So, and my NDA expired.
Right.
But
fuck it.
I will say that there was a lot of toxicity there, a lot of cancer.
Oh, you too, huh?
Yes, but they're all gone now or they've retired, whatnot.
Yeah.
But I had never experienced so much toxicity in my life at a radio station.
At that station?
Yes.
Really?
I used to always say, for a little station, it has a lot of drama.
Wow. I would say, if I was going to guess, I'd say 100.3 was more.
No.
But it wasn't. I would say, because I'm comparing it to how you departed. That was what really rubbed me the wrong way.
Right.
I wasn't the one that got let go or departed in such a manner.
Right.
But it hit me, I guess, because I'm an empath and because
Yeah.
I know you. I
Yeah.
care about you. I love you. You're a friend. You help me. And then to see that friend get just thrown out like an old pair of shoes, I was like, yo, bro, that ain't going to fly.
But one thing I will say is that when you leave a radio station, don't talk smack about them. And especially don't put it in the press, whether it's the LA Times or the Orange County Register, because you have to understand that when Los Angeles makes you part of their home and you go and you talk smack about a company in the tabloids, no one's ever going to look at you the same.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Burn
And
bridges.
You burn bridges. You, not only that, but you kind of bit the hand that fed you.
Made you.
Made you
Right.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, you never know who might think of you for a job, but then goes, oh man, if he talked or she talked smack about this company, imagine what they're going to do to us.
Right.
And they say, oh, bad press is still good press.
Oh, right,
and
there's
good
no
press
such
is-
thing as bad publicity. Right,
no,
right.
No, nowadays,
Oh, yeah.
people take things out of context and go, I don't think this person is gonna be
Absolutely.
right.
I'm sure it's been said about me. And I haven't talked smack per se and publicly like putting it out in press or something like that.
Right.
But because of my attitude and blowing up bridges, I fucking I didn't just blow up those bridges. I decimated them.
Oof.
And some I was able to rebuild. Some because that other party involved was willing to forgive, not totally forget, but to write me a pass because of whatever substances I was dealing with at the time.
Right.
Some of them say, I knew it wasn't you, sketch.
Yeah.
But some aren't as forgiving. And maybe that person may end up being my boss one day. And that's something I had to learn the real hard way. Now, like I said, throughout this podcast, I just don't try to avoid conflict at all costs, unless I absolutely have to break glass in case of emergency. I still have to do it in a fine line way. Walk that tightrope.
Yeah.
If you have to walk on eggshells so you don't get fired, walk on those eggshells, man. You're not walking across hot, burning coal. You just have to put on your tap dancing shoes and, tip your hat a little bit. It's not a big deal, but I don't like doing it. I'm 46 years old now. Yeah. I feel like, just like you, I don't want to have to apologize to people. And I don't. Even if I want to be the bigger man, I'm like, I told some of my superiors here, I'm like, I'm not apologizing anymore. I'm not, because I know that they know that I'm right. And it's not just about being right. It's about holding accountability.
Yes.
That's the magic word. And I feel like accountability has become like an ancient lost language to a lot of people.
Preach.
Cutting corners, complacency, what's known as quiet quitting, and then complaining about the work that you're getting paid for that you're not doing efficiently. And but Sketch has a bad attitude and he's difficult to work with because he just called me out on my bullshit and I don't like it.
Well, that's the thing is, people used to always say, "Oh, she's sassy, she's difficult." No, I'm stern and I'm frank, and I'm gonna tell you how it is.
And you're from fucking Brooklyn,
right? I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, and so I would go, yes, some people have said they feel that I'm intimidating or I'm mean. I know that.
No.
But I'm frank. I like to get to the point. Listen, when someone calls me on my phone, you know what I say? I go, "Hey, how you doing? How can I be of service?"
Yeah.
Quick, to the point.
Yeah, I don't have time for this.
I need everything done in a minute or a New York minute.
Yeah.
I need everything done fast. What is it that you need? How can I be of service to you?
No small talk, right?
No, I don't like small talk. I like you to get to the point.
Right.
If every meeting I went to had food and you would get to the point, I would be a happy camper.
Right.
I really would. I just, you've known me for a really long time.
Yeah.
I could get very hot-headed, but I'm very direct. I don't mean it maliciously. I just mean it because I'm passionate. I work with passion. I make love with passion.
And
I
you're
live
Latina.
life
And
with
you're
passion.
Latina.
And
Come
I'm
on.
Latina.
Come on.
That's just how it is.
That's just how it's built into our DNA. And I will say, as long as I have known you, Nautica, and I will knock on wood for this, I have been lucky to not receive that other version of you. I'm sure I've said some things in the past or had like a bad attitude about, but I don't think I've ever directed it towards you to receive any type of pushback. Because I adore you. And I've always held you up on a pedestal. No matter what station we worked at, either it was Power or The Beat, I'd go in and I'd just fawn over you.
Right.
And sometimes you'd be like, "Sketch, not right now, I don't have time." But you wouldn't say it mean. You just go, "I'm in the middle of something, come back." You'd say, "Come back." And I'd be like, "You better believe I'm coming back." And I would come back.
Yeah.
But it's not like I never got that. And I'm lucky and our relationship never got to that level, but I wouldn't hate on you for it. It's just like I've had people put me in my place before and we're still cool.
Well, the thing is that some people they get scared to talk. And I am that person that I don't mind asking the questions. I don't mind asking you 2 or 3 times. I want an answer and I want to know how it needs to be done or what specifics I need to do. And also, if I'm not okay with it, I'm quick to say no, but I need you to respect my no at the same time.
Yeah, no is a complete answer, a complete sentence.
It is. So, I know people have said, "Oh, she's just, she's difficult." No, I'm not. I'm just very direct.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that rub them the wrong way.
Yeah, well, because those people are sensitive. That's the problem. It's been an overcorrection of sensitivity.
Yes.
I understand that you got to remain professional and corporate like blah, blah, blah. But if you can't masquerade behind the corporate lingo.
Yeah.
Because just because it's corporate, quote unquote, doesn't make it right. Corporate isn't the magic get out of jail free card. You know what I mean? Oh, that's not corporate. Yeah, I know, because you're not acting corporate either. It's such a double standard. It's such a contradictive thing. Corporate, which was invented by people just like me and you.
Yeah.
And those corporate people lose their shit too. But because they're, up in the chain of command, it doesn't reflect back on them. But for us, like you said, Nautica could be difficult. She could be too stern. She could da-da-da. You know what? Here's 3 words that have been forgotten, and they need to come back.
Which one?
Suck it up.
I agree.
Suck it up, people. Really.
I agree.
I mean, it could be way worse. Mm-hmm. But we're over here complaining about the tone of how Nautica responded. Mm-hmm. It's just, to me, I'm just like, look, we're all grown adults here. Some of us are grown adults with adults of their own. Mm-hmm. Suck it up. It's not that hard. We do need to go back to not go back, like we need to rewind the clock and just go back to our old dumb ways, but certain ways where it's just like, dude, it's not that serious.
You know, the thing too is that a lot of people nowadays don't have tough fucking skin.
Right.
They're too sensitive.
Yep.
And I get sensitive in certain things.
Right.
But when it comes to my job, I want to make sure that I'm doing it right.
Right.
And also in my friendships, if I'm not certain about something, I go, hey girl, did you mean this?
Right. If the energy's fucked up.
Right. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now, if you've done me wrong, and I've let you happen. I've let it happen once.
And you wrote passes for them?
Yeah, no, this is not happening again.
Do you write passes? Like if somebody fucks up with you in a friendship, let's get out of the work thing. And plus, I need to take it back to the whole celebrity thing that we were talking about. Because we never got, was it Alicia Keys?
What?
When you were talking about the most standout experience, was it the Alicia Keys story?
Alicia Keys,
okay,
yes.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to wrap that up because I was like, is it Alicia? I think it was,
yes.
But we didn't totally say it. Okay. And then where were we going with this?
We were going with, you asked me, have you forgiven someone?
Oh, yeah. So in your friendships, in your personal relationships with people, and somebody has bad energy or they may say something that is taken out of context in a text, and then you talk about it, but you're the type of person that faces it and then fixes it. You don't run from it or ghost people. You're not a ghoster, are you? You don't ghost people, right? Unless you just don't want to talk to that person, period.
I lost 2 good friends that I had for 20 plus years. One was because I made a phone call and wished someone a happy birthday, but that's a long story short. That's a long story.
It's a whole nother podcast.
It's a whole nother podcast. But the other one was, you kind of see after 20 plus years who this person really is. And both people, I talked and I said, how can we make this better? Or I brought things up. And, I just feel like once a friendship is kind of tainted, there's really no going back, even if there is forgiveness and, there is trying to get back the momentum. It's never going to be the same.
Right.
And I'm one of those people, I can never look at you the same once you do me wrong.
It's been tainted.
It's been tainted. Once it's a little tainted, right. I can't wipe that off, not even with bleach.
Yeah.
And, to me, it's kind of, in a way, it's just better just to cut it off.
Right. Do you miss any of those people? Like the 20-year relationship, friendship that you had? Do you ever miss that person?
I don't.
No.
I don't. The reason why I say is because the way things ended, that's when I saw their true colors.
It's a wash.
I saw the pettiness. I saw
their true colors, as my mom would say.
Their true colors, yes.
Right.
And I'm okay. They're not a big piece of my life.
Yeah.
Like I'm not missing out on anything. It's, even if you've had a friendship for 20, 25, 30 years, you get to a point where you're like, you weren't really a big part of my life, in a way of, you made a difference in my life.
Uplifted you, edified you.
Exactly. You were there, and I was there for you when you were broken and needed to be picked up. I helped you pick up the pieces. I helped you, with, your relationships. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm good. And then at the end, sometimes people pick sides, and that's okay. For each its own. But I've gotten to the point where I'm at the age where I have a lot of acquaintances. I have 798 contacts in my phone. But do you know how many of those are my true best friends?
4.
7.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. And you have a lot of followers on Instagram as well. And most of them, I'm sure I'll bet half of them you don't even know in person. I've never met.
Half of them I don't even know. Most of them are from Los Angeles. Some
Right.
of them are family. Would I like to get to 10,000, 20,000 followers? Yes. But you know what? I'm okay with having 6,000.
I've gotten in the groove of just trying to just hold back on reacting. Not everything needs a reaction.
That is true. Not everything needs a reaction. And also, there are some things where you said earlier, the thumbs up or the K.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even though you want to say a whole bunch of shit. But you're like, you know what? Fucking save me the headache.
Yeah.
And I have to say this, that one of the things that I've seen a lot in people nowadays is the pettiness. Petty is at its all-time high.
Yep.
And not only women, I mean the men,
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the men, I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous.
It's insanity.
Let's not talk about just pettiness, the thirstiness, the accountability. I mean, there is a lot. The lies, the deceit, I need to feel like I'm more empowered than you. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I really don't give a fuck.
Same.
Listen, I just want to live the rest of my life, the next 50, 60 years, just in peace, in joy, with the people that I love. If I could keep on doing what I love to do, even better. But I'm not going to be doing this until I'm 100. I will say that. I would like to retire earlier.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
And I'm not saying we're totally wrapping up yet,
Okay.
but I want to ask you, and I usually ask all my guests on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Once radio ends in the career, what's the dream job or what's the next venture for Nautica de la Cruz?
Well, I'll say currently, just in now, definitely would love to be a part of the iHeart team.
Right.
I definitely want to do more television.
Yeah.
I hate to say this. This is really my dream job, but because he just passed away just recently. But you know whose job I always wanted?
Let me guess. Can I guess?
What?
Wait, so somebody recently passed.
Yes.
Voiceover?
No, TV.
Okay.
And I'll give you a hint.
Give me a hint.
He was loved by everyone here in Los Angeles, and he always made his reporting just wonderful and fun.
Damn, reporting. Somebody in the news or radio?
Yeah, I would say news, more like news.
Reporting.
A man.
A man. Oh, not James Earl Jones. That's who I was going to go to.
No.
but-
He recently passed away. He was a friend of all the radio stations here in Los Angeles. Most importantly, iHeart.
Somebody passed from iHeart and I don't know who it is?
No.
Oh.
He was friends with people
friends with
here.
people from iHeart.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I give up. I can't even think of...
Sam Rubin.
Oh, yes. Sam Rubin. Of course, KTLA 5. Our Sam
KTLA.
Rubin, yes.
So he always did entertainment,
Yeah.
and he just made, everyone loved him, and he just made every story always so
Yeah, he's
fun
great.
about
Great
the
guy.
entertainment business.
He
That
would come
was-
to Power and have Big on the morning show. He's had Jay Cruz on. He had you on at one point, didn't he? Or did he come to the station?
I never interviewed with Sam Rubin. I did interview with Gail.
Gail King?
Gail King.
Wait, no, not
Gail
Oprah's
King.
homie.
No. What's
Gail.
her name? Oh, gosh.
From KTLA?
KTLA.
Let's look up Gail from KTLA.
Is that her name?
I don't know. Let's find out. We're going to find out. Thank
Gail
God.
Anderson. Is it Gail Anderson? I don't know.
Gail Anderson. You're right. That's her. Yep.
Gail Anderson. No, but that's my dream. That was always my dream.
So you
job.
want to be on as a news reporter, a news anchor, entertainment news anchor. Like,
Yes.
you know who I really like is Elizabeth Wagmeister.
Oh,
she used to
okay.
be on KCAL 9 and CBS. She was their entertainment reporter.
Okay.
And then she went on to CNN. Ooh. And oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. And every time I see her, I'm just like, oh, I love you. Like, I just can't wait till her reports come on because she's just like, and today, it's just the way she delivers. It's her delivery. And I know if I saw you on there, it'd be like, oh yeah, Nautica's giving the report. Oh,
Well,
shit.
you know, I just love that he always had a sense of humor,
Yeah.
and I think having humor in deliverance
Oh, yeah.
is and in delivery is so important because you catch people's attention. And you know, I mean, for those that know me, I'm naturally funny, but I also love entertainment, all across the board. And so those are my two dream jobs
What
currently.
about stand-up comedy? Would you ever try stand-up?
Rashawn McDonald wanted me to do stand-up comedy, but I was like, I can't. I'm naturally funny. I can't remember stories. But I think riding into the sunset as I get much older, I think my dream job would to be probably teach. I would like to teach broadcasting, radio,
radio history.
podcasting, radio history, or podcasting.
Yeah.
That's something that I would do part-time because I still want to be connected to people and still connected to the industry.
Is that something they could teach in college or in high school? Which would you want to go for?
I would go for high school.
Really?
But I would do it as an after-school program.
Like extra credit.
Yes. And because it would give kids the opportunity to feel more confident to speak because they are going to go to the rest of their lives doing speeches, or they might be business owners, or they might be CEOs, CFOs, and they have to speak in front of people.
Right.
And also how to deliver a message, how to deliver a conversation. That would be something that I would like to do.
That's dope.
And I would only offer it to juniors and seniors.
Right. You don't want all the wiling out 9th and 10th graders.
No.
Those guys are nuts.
I want to prepare you for college.
Yeah.
I want to prepare you when you sit down with your dean. I want to prepare you when you sit down with your professor. I want to prepare you for your interview. I want to prepare if maybe one day you want to be a sports anchor or you want to be that reporter on CNN and you want to do interviews.
Right.
You know what I mean? How to even hold the microphone, how to
Right.
speak into the microphone.
Clearly and project.
And project and articulate. That's so important. That would be like my job that I would love to do part-time in my elder years.
That's dope. Miss De La Cruz.
Miss De La Cruz.
Professor.
Professor De La Cruz.
Did you go to school for radio? Did you do all that? Did you?
I went to... Yes, I went to De Anza College for my AA, and then I got my bachelor's at San Jose State. So I majored in RTVF, radio, television, and film. It was all one department, and the theater department, I minored in theater, and the theater department was upstairs. So I started there, and then I finished online when online was just barely.
When the World Wide Web was.
Right, exactly. I had to finish with one class. So I didn't get to walk, but my professor at that time, his name was Mr. Lefevre. And there were two actors. No, it was myself and this other actor. I went to school with actor Kobe Bell. He's been on a lot of BET shows.
Right.
And I did radio at the college at KSCU, which was my rival school. I did radio there. And Shamar Moore went to Santa Clara University, and I used to watch him play baseball because he was on the baseball team.
That's wild.
I know. But my college professor said, hey, listen, not too many people get to graduate and get their dream job. He's like, you just have one more semester. He goes, just finish online. We're starting online classes. And he goes, and go for that job. And that's when I landed the job at Power 106.
Damn. That's fucking crazy.
And Kobe Bell I believe is still acting. He got married. He had 2 kids.
In regards to the acting, didn't you do some acting when you were at Power? Weren't you on I'm trying to remember. What were you on?
I was on She Spies.
That's right.
Yeah.
You and Liz.
Me and Liz.
At the same time.
And Dominique DePrima.
Dude, I remember that episode clearly because I remember Liz, but then I also remember seeing you, but then I'm like, were they on at the same time?
Yes,
you got to understand, I was very inebriated at that time.
Yes, you were.
Oh my God. But I remember seeing Liz and then talking to Liz a little after going, I saw you on She Spies, and they would do their headquarters at that old Sunkiss building off the 101. Now it's not Sunkissed anymore, but that building, I'm like, and then I remember you guys came on and you were standing behind the She Spies and you were standing there in your She Spy outfits with your like superhero stance, you know? Oh my God, that is so crazy. So how many things like that have you done? And what are you trying to do as far as acting? What would you want to be on or be in?
That's so funny because I just got a residual check from She Spies.
No.
It was like 6 cents.
Still, though, you're still getting paid. That was 20 some years ago. That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. I've done... So I did She Spies. I used to do, rest in peace, when Lisa Left Eye Lopez.
Yeah, TLC.
Yes. Used to be the host of The Cut on MTV. That was kind of my first TV appearance, and it was my bug. And then I went on to do She Spies, and I went on to do like 3 independent movies. And I also, mostly every season, I've been a commentator, a contributor on Unsung.
Unsung.
on BT.
Okay.
Yes.
But in regards to the independent films, what are the titles? Do you remember?
One is Body Weapon, and the other two I don't remember.
All good.
So long
Body
ago.
Weapon.
Yes.
Sounds dope.
Yes. And I think Glenn Plummer was in the movie too.
And you had line role?
I did.
Like
I played a Cuban. I played the daughter of a Cuban, I don't know, mafioso. I can't even remember. It was so long ago.
I got to try to find a clip of that.
Oh, I don't
See
know
if
if
there's
you'll
one on
find it. But
YouTube.
I think it was one of those because I remember a friend of mine saying, "Hey, did you do this movie?" And he would describe to me, and I was like, "Where did you see that movie? Because it never released here." And he goes, "I saw it in Japan, but so my voice was dubbed in whatever language, and Japanese, I should say. Also, so unsung, and what else? I've done a few TV things. I've written a few pilots that I've shopped." I've always had the TV bug. I'm okay with the acting. I'm more of
Writing?
the writing, the creating, also, or the hosting. I did host my own local TV show called the Nautica Show.
Where?
It was on Incom TV in the city of Inglewood. I also hosted for
Public access?
Public access.
Interesting.
Also public access. I did for 3.5 years. I did Inside Long Beach, and that was great. I didn't really love the concept of the show, but I had such a freaking wonderful team.
Yeah.
I still talk to the general manager of the TV station from time to time.
Yeah.
He's amazing, and he started off as like the camera guy.
And now he's in charge.
Now he's in charge.
And does he slide into your DMs?
No, he doesn't.
What's up, beautiful?
What's up, What's up, sexy?
What you do?
What you do? How you doing? No, but you know what? It's just so nice to be remembered and to be loved in so many different categories.
Fuck yeah.
But TV, I would probably just host or like entertainment reporting. I love that.
Yeah.
That is something that I would definitely still
Let me
love
ask
to
you
do.
this.
Yes.
If radio or, well, really just radio in general, never hit Nautica de la Cruz, never happened, what would Nautica de la Cruz be doing today?
I would have either been an orthodontist or a forensic specialist.
Forensic, like CSI?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I always thought
dope.
that was interesting. Well, a little backstory. I went to dental school and in the Bay Area, and I got my certificate. I passed the state board, and I was a dental assistant for almost 8 years.
Like a lot of Latinos are.
Yes. And I wanted to go. So, you know, once you become a dental assistant, you go into hygiene. And then after that, you could go into dentistry, which is general dentistry, 4 years. And then, you know, your specialty, orthodontics. So I would have probably been an orthodontist.
That's wild. Dr. de la Cruz.
Dr. De La Cruz. Or I would probably, done forensics.
That's dope.
Both
of those are dope.
I like the mind of, you know, how did that happen?
Right.
What can we find in this evidence?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The evidence speaks to you and connecting the dots.
And it's like you create a story in your mind. You know, and sometimes when you have gifts like the gifts of a vision and the gift of time.
And being a woman with the sixth sense or seventh sense, you know,
Yes.
a woman's intuition can't beat it.
No, and I tell you, it's strong. The
Yeah.
it is very strong.
You guys are like aliens. That's wild.
So I would probably say, that's probably what I
That's
would be
dope.
doing.
Okay. Before we wrap up, and trust me,
Yes.
I have so much more to get to. We're getting close to 2.5 hours.
Oh,
I
snap.
can keep going, but I'm going to invite you back to the podcast
Okay,
because I know
all
you
right.
got to get home and I got to get back and try to make this Liam Payne tribute.
Okay.
I work in imaging and I take a lot of female voiceovers and I turn them into radio imaging, right?
Okay.
So this is going to be a little segment where I'm going to hit you with a couple of artists that are on the charts
Okay.
that you may not really truly listen to or even really know that much of, but you know who they are.
Okay.
You've definitely heard of them.
Okay.
And then all I want you to do is just give me your hot take. And I'm going to take your voice audio and
Okay.
turn it into imaging so that I can survive in this world. Okay?
Okay.
Let's go. First one is Sabrina Carpenter.
Sabrina Carpenter has some of the hottest songs on the planet right now.
With the very sultry Dela Cruz voice. I mean, come on. All right, let's move on to, what about Jelly Roll?
Jelly Roll, strong man, strong singer, passionate, making a difference, great voice, just doing his art. Writing songs that he feels, writing songs that he's passionate about, expressing what love is. And I think we're getting away from that. We need to talk more about love, and instead of hitting it and quitting it and, sucking this and sucking that, fuck that bullshit. Like, I'm so over that. I am. I'm so over that. What happened to real rap battles instead of battles that, you're putting out people's business, like talking about their kids and their family, and that's stupid. Just stupid.
Gotcha. Great. That's great. Okay. One of the biggest artists, if not the biggest artist in our galaxy, our known galaxy.
Okay.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, the Swifties. Everyone loves her. I mean, she writes music for everybody. She could be on every genre, on every station. I don't know anyone who doesn't like her. Maybe a handful of people, but I mean, she is a powerful woman. She is a businesswoman. She's an artist. She's smart. She knows how to market. She knows who her fan base is.
Brilliant. To the pod listener right now, if you were to take your thumb and index finger and make, if you're, when people go, I'm this close to fucking you up, I'm this close to going off, when they say that, I'm this close. I'm putting up that same hand gesture, and I'm going to say, Taylor Swift is this fucking close to rapping, okay? She, every time, when she sing-songy raps, she's rapping. It's like, yeah, she's singing, but the words are rhyming, and she's literally just a step or two away from calling it a rap lyric.
She is. You know what? Taylor Swift, I think you're right, is a hair away from rapping, but I think she's going to have to grow a little bit more on her balls for the fact that if she sees that Beyonce is doing well in country, then she'll go, okay, let me wait for Beyonce to be on this platform for a little bit longer, and then I may cross over. Yeah. And I know a lot of rappers that love Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
You see a lot of African Americans at her concerts.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar did a song with her. He did Bad Blood.
But the only thing is, I think, is that she may get afraid. She may be scared because of the backlash.
Right. Well, if she teamed up, and I always say this, I've said this before, I'm a newer Swiftie now.
Okay.
I am. She's 34, almost 35. She's a grown-ass woman,
of
okay?
Course.
And I really like her. I really love her. I don't know her, and I'm not saying I'm in love with her and I want to have her kids. I'm just saying, as a very beautiful white woman who comes from Reading, Pennsylvania, and has catapulted over her own catapult, is unreal to me. And it's not just her beauty and the music. To me, it's the production value that she brings, because she knows, obviously she has Jack Antonoff who's helping her and all that stuff, but she does multiple voices. She re-sang all of her songs. She does this voice where she's like her own cheerleader in the background. She's like, nice, fight, win. That, I'm like, is that her? And other Swifties are like, yeah, that's her. She's doing all that. That's voiceover work. Now she's borderline rapping. If she does team up with anybody to do a rap song, I would imagine, I would like to see her team up with Dr. Dre, right? Or do a feature rap type verse on an Eminem song.
Ooh.
Bro, what?
Wow.
That would be next level. I think she should do it. At least just one, not a whole album. You don't have to put a whole rap album. Just do a fucking rap verse in her sing-songy way.
Yeah.
With her little background, voiceover, nice, or whatever she does. And hook up with Dr. Dre or Eminem. That shit would be next. Or even just Kendrick Lamar again. But she's already done that. Eminem would be the move, because Eminem just came back with that album and it's fucking phenomenal.
You know what? That would actually be a really good pairing.
Right?
It really would.
I think so.
And just the marketing
and they
on
don't
that
have beef.
song.
They don't have beef with each other, which is almost unheard of, because Eminem had beef with fucking everybody.
Oh, of course.
But now he's a grown, evolved man, and not saying he's not capable of going back to the Slim Shady ways, but the truth is that he they could elevate each other even more so.
Yeah, and he's sober too.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot. I think there was a lot for Eminem. There was a time where he probably realized, I need to evolve, I need to grow. I need to grow as a man, and I need to grow as an artist. And sometimes you have to step back and sit down and sit your ass down for a little bit and go, how am I going to help myself?
Right.
How am I going to improve myself? And that just doesn't go for just talent and being an artist and learning your skills. It goes to everyone. Yeah. Everyone needs to sit down for a while and go
and reflect
and improve.
Yeah.
And what is messing up my mental health, or why am I feeling this way, or who's in my village? I posted something today on my Instagram at Nautica de la Cruz, by the way.
Yeah, we're gonna hit that again at the end.
And it's basically, if you see it, it's one bad orange, and there's another orange next to it. So there's this one orange, and it's moldy and it's green, and it's like penicillin is growing out of it. And then there's one standing next to it, and it's starting to get that green penicillin. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you are who you hang around with.
Right.
And we need to reflect on that and see, are these friends really my friends?
Right.
Or are they coattail riders? Or are they just my friends because of who I am?
Right.
So you have to think about that.
My mom would always say, Christian, if you really want to know who somebody is, tell me who their 5 closest friends are, and I'll tell you who they are. Mm-hmm. And I was like, damn, that's real.
And when you get older, your circle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And not only because you start having fallouts with friends, but they start passing away, or they start moving.
Or some people are just in your orbit for a certain period of time. It's not everybody has to be a falling out.
They're in seasons.
Right. They're just in seasons. Like Fight Club had this great thing where it's like a single serving friend, the movie Fight Club with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt way back in the day. I remember he'd say like, I'm your single serving friend when they met each other on the plane, which... Spoiler alert, Edward Norton is Tyler Durden. Spoiler alert, okay?
Right.
But Brad Pitt is his alter ego, and he meets him, but he's like, you're like the most interesting single-serving friend I've ever flown with. And he was like, single-serving friend, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, we're only going to be on this flight together, and we're never going to see each other again. That's how I feel some friends, quote-unquote friends, I don't even know, acquaintances, as you said earlier on. Mm-hmm. They're acquaintances. Some get a little closer than acquaintances, and they become your friend. You're hanging out, you're going to see games, you're going to see shows, but then they move on. They leave, and you just fall away from each other's orbit. Nothing bad happened. Right. I have tons of people on Instagram, well, not tons, but quite a few where at first we hang out, we do the pod, we're liking each other's posts all the time, they're watching my stories, I'm watching their stories, and then pretty soon it starts to dissipate. Nothing bad happened. It's just... this is how it is. I try not to take any of that personal anymore, where I'm like, well, she's not watching my stuff anymore. She must hate me. Mm-hmm. It's not like that. They're just living their life. I've learned that the hard way. What else I wanted to get to before we wrap up? Hold on. I'm going to bring this back to...
full circle.
Full circle.
As closing.
Oh, well, not even that close to closing. But we're getting there. Okay, one is, I got to shout out Scorpio, who now works here at iHeartMedia, and I've been also in talks with them to have him on the podcast. Quick backstory on Scorpio. He was the program director at 92.3 and 100.3, or just 100?
Just 100.
Just 100. Now, full disclosure, and I'm going to tell him this when he's on, but I knew Scorpio was white, but I didn't know what he looked like, and I never Google people. I don't really, unless, some female artist, and I'm like, who's that? I got to follow her on Instagram. Right. But like, for most part, radio personalities or voiceovers, I try not to Google people because I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Right.
So in my mind, I imagine Scorpio, big white dude, like DJ Ski height, right?
Okay.
And with cornrows, blonde hair, but cornrows, right? Real fucking almost thug-like. Mm-hmm. And then I get to iHeart and I see this gentleman in the sales pit, and they're like, oh, who did I had Armand up. Remember Armand?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right, Armand with the voice. Remember?
Yes.
Cooler than a polar bear's toenail.
Right.
Yeah, that guy. Uh-huh. He came up to do a tour with some youth that were getting into podcasting, and he called me, and I brought him up. Check this out. If Armand had not hit me up, I probably would have eventually found out, but I wouldn't have known that Scorpio was Scorpio.
Wow.
When we were walking through the hallway and I'm giving Armand and the youth a tour,
Yeah.
I hear Armand go, "Oh shit, is that Scorpio over there?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Scorpio works here now?" I'm like, "Scorpio from the beat?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's right over there." And I'm like, "That dude? That's Scorpio?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." Everything went out the window. Now, I'm not saying he's not a bad looking man. He just looks different from what I imagine him to be. And then immediately I'm like, Nautica de la Cruz. Armand, A1. We're talking about everybody at the station. Pia, George Mang, Hideo.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. But again, the power of a podcast, the power of podcasting that brought Armand and his class of youth to come up to take a tour connected me for the first time to Scorpio, who he knew who I was.
Right.
We knew of each other, but we didn't know what each other looked like.
Oh,
and
I see.
that was the difference. He even said, he was like, "I thought you looked different too. I thought you were shorter," I think he told me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's fucking crazy. But again, full circle back to just how the podcasting and radio brings people together in some way or fashion. And I had to thank Armand for hitting me up. And in full disclosure, I was kind of trying to duck it. I was like, oh man, like, I don't have to give a tour. Like, what if they don't show up on time? And it's a whole fucking thing, which they were late, but no big deal. It doesn't matter. It's just, I'm always like dreading having to do shit. Like that I didn't initiate myself. I'm always like, why did I agree to do this? Fuck. But then it turned out to be wonderful. It was wonderful. It was the exact opposite. Right. So, okay. And also, thanks for those listener pieces too, by the way. Can I get one more? Let me get one more that I want to throw in there that you are familiar with.
Yes.
The Weeknd. Ooh. Abel, as he is known in real life. And I heard he's going back to the name Abel and dropping The Weeknd.
The Weeknd. Yeah. Abel is not my favorite. So I am disabling him.
Good. That's good.
The Weeknd is not my favorite.
Why is he not your favorite? Are you scared of The Weeknd? I get this a lot from some listeners I've asked. You're not a listener per se, but you're playing the part of a listener. When I've talked to actual listeners, I go, The Weeknd. And immediately they kind of cringe a little bit, like scared. And I'm like, what is it about him that is so kind of off-putting? He's so fascinating. He's such a great artist.
I don't like him as an artist.
Really?
I just never have. It's funny because I have a sweatshirt, this hot pink sweatshirt, and it says The Weeknd. It was from his concert, and it was given to me for free. And I'm like, every time I wear it, I go, fuck. I hope no one thinks that I like The Weeknd. But it was a free sweatshirt, and I like the color.
Is it comfy at least?
It is very comfy.
That's dope.
The Weeknd, or AKA Abel, I'm sorry, but you are disabled in my category.
Wow. Is there anything specific you can tell us why Abel is
I don't like his tunes. I don't like his...
What about I Can't Feel My Face When I'm... That's a great record.
Never liked him.
No.
Never liked him. Never.
What if, like, there's a chance to have him on the Mo Kelly show? And...
I'll call sick.
Oh my God.
I do not like The Weeknd. I just don't.
All right, what about our boy, our homie, our LA guy, Kendrick Lamar?
Ooh, Kendrick, man. That was a name that was out for years that everybody wondered when his first album was coming, when he was going to go mainstream, when he was just going to woo the world
and blow up,
man,
right.
And this boy did not disappoint.
It took a while though. It took a minute to get him to where he's at now. It's like Taylor Swift to me, and yet Taylor Swift did not win the the Pulitzer Prize. What did Kendrick win as an award? Didn't he win like some? Hold on, let me look it up.
The Pulitzer?
Yeah, hold on. Kendrick Lamar Award. Let's see. Yeah, he won the Pulitzer Prize for Music in 2018. Mm-hmm. Now, that's just, I don't know how many rap artists have done that. I can't name one other than Kendrick.
I can't name any.
I know now. Dre has done a lot of great philanthropy work with the USC and the music department and stuff, but he doesn't have that. It's wild to see how far Kendrick has evolved. And I know that Kendrick isn't exactly everybody. For some reason, I feel like he doesn't get enough respect as the rapper he is because his rap style is so unique. It's so different. The way he changes his voice, and he sounds almost like alien to me in a way. And it's not mumble rap. You understand every word he's saying, but it's very, very obscure. I feel like Kendrick, if you're not a Kendrick fan now or already, he's an acquired taste.
He is an acquired taste, but one of the things I have to say is I've never been super big on West Coast rap, but I can say, because I'm an East Coast girl, I grew up on the, Run DMCs and
LL Cool J.
J's and, Wu-Tang and so forth.
Wu-Tang is forever, by the way.
Right, forever. Yeah. But living here in Los Angeles, I have acquired a taste for the Dr. Dre's, for the Snoop Dogg's, for the Kendrick Lamar, but he is just one of a kind.
Yeah.
And he really speaks on not only the Black community, but things that he has experienced, he has seen, he has lived.
In such an artistic way.
Oh, my God.
Right?
It's so artistic that it's beautiful. That you don't even see the pain in the song.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you're so like, damn, this shit is dope as fuck.
Exactly.
And then you listen to it again and again, and then pretty soon you find yourself going from that head nod to where you're almost breaking your neck to kind of tearing up. And that's happened multiple times with a lot of his tracks. Especially, I remember when I was going through my alcohol phase, and I remember he released that song, Pools. Man, I related to that song so much. And it didn't really bring me to tears. It was just like, I just felt like, wow, I'm not alone. He's going through this shit too.
Another thing I like about him is that he's not flashy.
Right.
I always like that about Ice Cube too.
Yeah.
He's not flashy.
Not at all.
It's like, look, this is the art. This is what I want to get paid to do, and I'm not doing anything extra.
Yeah. Dr. Dre's the same way.
Dr. Dre is the same way.
He'll show up to events in his sweat, like his joggers and his hoodie. Like I'm dressed right now.
Exactly.
And I'm like, that's fucking, and it's like a massive event. He just shows.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry, but you were going to say something. I didn't want to cut you off.
I just love the humbleness. The Hollywood hasn't gotten to their head.
Right.
And, they all have deep pockets, but just because you have deep pockets doesn't mean you have to show everything.
Right.
Speaking of Dr. Dre, I just went he is part owner of Boulevard STK in Sherman Oaks on Ventura Boulevard. Oh,
what is that?
I just did a review on that.
Is that a steak place?
It is a steak place. Oh my God. It is.
A Dr. Dre steak place?
A Dr. Dre partnered up ownership restaurant. Delicious.
And when you eat the steak, you go, hell yeah. Have you tried the steak there?
Oh, yes. I went there for dinner. Everything is absolutely exquisite. And when I say exquisite, I mean exquisite.
Like top-tier restaurant.
From the decor, from the service, to the alcohol menu, to the sides, to the chef. Everything is exquisite.
Is it affordable?
Well, I didn't foot the bill. I went with someone who was very nice and kind.
Nice. Dr. Dre himself?
No, but I was kind of looking around to see if Dr. Dre was going to show up.
That's wild.
But I have to say, it is, I would say anywhere between $200 to $300.
So it's like Morton's Steakhouse.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Dr. Dre, and what's the name of it again?
It's called Boulevard Steak.
Boulevard STK, which stands for steak. Right. Oh
and
my God.
It's on Ventura Boulevard.
And
Woodman.
Okay, so it's kind of going towards the 405 freeway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to check that out. We're going to go get a steak after this?
Delicious.
Yeah?
Yes.
Nice. I need to circle back before we totally wrap this up. Okay. I didn't mention this in any form or anything, but I want to just ask, have you ever watched The Sopranos?
Yes.
Okay. I am just like I'm a newer Swiftie now, I would say I'm a bigger Sopranos. I'm like obsessed with The Sopranos. I'm obsessed with Gandolfini.
So did you ever watch it from the beginning?
I did. I've watched the entire series of The Sopranos now 12 times.
What?
Okay, now, when I watch it, the first 3 times I watched it, I really watched it. Like, I had to watch it in its entirety, every little nook and cranny. But then as time went on, I've now made it a yearly thing where every year I watch The Sopranos. It's just a part of my comfort viewing because I really love Gandolfini's face. It's his face. It's comforting to me. I don't know what it is, because on the show, Gandolfini is a murdering boss psychopath to a degree, even though he's very loving to his family most of the time, and then there's times where he's about to beat the shit out of AJ. But the love for his own family, not the mafia family, but the love for his actual family is what the story's mainly about. And yeah, the mafia's in there, but just like Breaking Bad was about crystal meth, you never really saw much crystal meth. It was more about the people that were making it, right? So with Sopranos, we're like, I don't want to watch a show about the mafia. It's kind of about the mafia. It's more about him. And every year I watch it, I always discover something new. And then during the pandemic, I didn't get hip to this till later, but our guy, Jeff Garcia, Jeff G did, fucking Nautica de la Cruz también did. She's going to be on your podcast. You're going to talk about Sopranos. Did. And I'm like, look. Okay. He told me, he goes, Sketch, have you fucking watched Talking Sopranos podcast? Dude? Oh. And I'm like, they have a podcast? He's like,
I did hear about that.
Yeah. So it's Steve Sciarippa, who played Bobby Bacala. And Michael Imperioli, who played Christopher Montesalti. So in spectacular soprano fashion, I rewatched the show, and then I started watching one episode, and then I'd go to that episode on the podcast where they review it. Oh. Nautica. It is one of the best podcasts by two actors who aren't broadcasters or podcasters. Okay. Well, they are now, but they were new to it. And it was, at the beginning, it was during the pandemic when they started, when podcasts really started to blow up along with Zoom and whatnot. Right. But when Steve Sciarippa and Michael Imperioli started it, it started on Zoom and the mics weren't that great, but as time goes on through the seasons, they start to upgrade the show. They get better cameras, better mics. Now they're in the studio together and they fucking argue. And it's so funny. They don't really argue, but they what is it? They play argue. They play or like they nag you. Like Steve is kind of like the hothead and Michael is more of the calm, relaxed delivery. And then Steve will say something to Michael and he'll go, I don't really like how you said that, Steve. Now you're just berating me. Oh, I'm not berating you. You need to suck it up, Michael. Come on, Chrissy. And they just go back and forth, and then they'll go, okay, well, anyway, so back to the scene. And I love that. It's full, actual, real conversation, and then the review of the Sopranos is phenomenal. And I wish they kept going, but they only did every season, every episode. They did, 80 episodes of review. It's fantastic. So the reason I bring this up is because being a Soprano fan, and I'm glad that you were too, or are, I posted this on my Instagram today, and I want to end the show with this. I found this guy, actually my friend Daniel Sines, a.k.a. Danny Boy, big Sopranos head as well. He sent me this on my DM today, and it's one of those, like reels that people put out. Let me find it real quick. So this guy, he's a comedian, Al Foran Comedy. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Al Foran, Foran, right? Okay. Now, Ari Spears, the comedian, also formerly of Mad TV, he had the best Tony Soprano impression I have heard. Okay. Until Al. Oh. I'm not saying, now, respect to Ari Spears. He has some of the most phenomenal impressions I have ever heard in my life. Yes. Okay. I'm a huge proponent of impressions and voiceover and whatnot. But when I heard this guy, and I'm going to play it. Okay. It's like he's doing Tony Soprano better than Tony Soprano. Shush your mouth. The mannerisms, the blinking, the breathing through the nose, all of which Aries, I'm not saying he can't do, he didn't do. He just did the voice. This guy's doing it all. Bro, check this out. Here we go. This is Tony Soprano reviewing or watching The Penguin, the new show on HBO Max with Colin Farrell.
What the fuck is this? Fucking Christopher. Too cozy. Too fucking cozy with those producers and writers from Hollywood. It's a real fucking problem. Although, one thing I'll give this. It's an upgrade on Danny Baldwin. Colin Farrell is respected. He's a good actor. Hey, Bruce. Oh. Okay, now I'm a little fucking confused there. So he acts and he talks like me. And he fucking walks like Vito. What the fuck am I watching there? What is this?
Oh, isn't that great? Goodness.
Isn't that great?
Honestly, he does Tony Soprano
just a little bit better than Tony, than Gandolfini.
A little bit better.
Right, it's more...
Rest in peace, much respect. But the facial expressions and even the way he breathes and his lip and how he
and even when he goes like, it's just causing fucking problems, the way he like bunches up his lower
his
lip,
jaw.
and the jaw, and
my God.
even at the beginning when you just see POV Tony Soprano watching the penguin, and you see him clicking the remote the way Tony would go. And he clicked it. I was just like, immediately started laughing. I commented on it saying I haven't seen Aries yet. At the time, at that moment, which was today, I hadn't seen Aries, Tony Soprano.
Okay.
I quickly YouTubed it, watched it, and then posted on my Instagram story that video of Al Ferran.
Okay.
Al Ferran watched my posting of his video.
Wow.
And I immediately started following him. I'm like, wow, he watched it? So I want to just put this out there publicly on this podcast.
Okay.
That is my all-time favorite reel of this year, hands down. It's the best Tony Soprano impression ever to date. This dude has won.
Oh no, he did.
Yeah.
I
Al
gave
Ferran.
him 5 thumbs up.
Yeah, same. Wow. So
Amazing.
Are you going to go home and watch Sopranos again?
I think I might.
Catch an episode?
Yes.
Let me tell you, Nautica. I really appreciate you being on the podcast. See, I can't do it as good. I can't. It's terrible. It's terrible.
can't.
But I do love watching The Sopranos, and I hope I can try to get that guy Al Ferran on the podcast and just have him do it here because he is so good. And I wonder what other impressions he does. Do you do any impressions?
No, I really don't. I used to do a good Rosie Perez back in the day.
Let's hear it. I'm going to close my eyes. Go ahead. We're going to end on the Rosie Perez impression. Here we go.
When she did White Man Can't Jump.
Yes. She looks
would
so
go-
good in that movie. Go ahead.
She would go,
Mookie, why don't you just give him all the money? You can't just keep everything for yourself. You just need to take care of your son.
That was spot on. The problem is trying to hold the whole conversation because there's only certain key words that as doing impressions of other people that I've become good at. I'm not saying that's your MO, but for me, when I do like for example, Stewie from Family Guy is one of my favorite, and it took me years to try to get just some of the words and voice down where he's like, "Hello, Brian. You know, Brian, I think you're a very special person." You can look at me like the way, or he's like, "You love her." I have to make my mouth a certain way, but I can't say anything else besides "Hello, Brian."
Yeah.
Because he can't have a conversation. This guy, Al Ferran, seems like he can just hold a whole conversation as Tony. So, yeah, anyways.
that's a skill.
Nautica de la Cruz, you're a skill. You're a skill that I'm so happy to have in my life and in my orbit still.
Thank you.
After all these years. Thank you for being on the podcast, and I appreciate you sharing all the insight and all the background. There's still so much more to get to here from ChatGPT. Let me just run off some of the questions that we didn't get to before we close out.
Okay.
The Latina representation in media, which you kind of covered.
Yes.
Personal stories and milestones, you kind of covered that. Adapting to new media, you covered that. Advice for aspiring broadcasters and podcasters. Did we say anything for that?
Yeah,
you did. That's right.
Yeah.
I think you covered it all then.
I did.
Oh my God. Look at that. All right. Well, Nautica de la Cruz, hit me with the socials, the podcast, the podcast IG, the personal IG, and anything else you want to put out there.
You can find me on Instagram at Nautica de la Cruz, NAUTICA DELACRUZ. Also, our FrequenShe Podcast on Instagram as well. FrequenShe, spelled FrequenShe Podcast. I'm also on Facebook as well. And hopefully I'll be starting my YouTube soon.
Quick note, there's an underscore in your podcast IG. It's FrequenShe _ podcast.
Okay.
Just to make sure. So in case people are like, wait, is this it? Just look for the logo that's the lipstick mic.
That's what it is. My daughter made that logo.
Brooklyn.
Yes, Brooklyn did.
Real quick, how is Brooklyn doing? Is she in New York now? Is that where she's going to school? Where's she going to school?
Portland.
Portland, Oregon. Okay, wow. It's a wild town up there. Is it still wild up there?
It is very. But I think she's going to make her way possibly back to California.
One last question, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask this, since you are from New York and you're a hip-hop lady from the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Diddy.
Ooh, okay.
What's the thoughts on Diddy as we close this out? I'm sorry to end on such a low note, but this is very important.
No, actually, we talked about it last week and the week prior on Mo Kelly.
Mo Kelly, right?
Because he had asked me, have you been to the parties? And I said, yes. I actually have a picture of Diddy and I on Instagram.
Let's get one thing straight for anybody listening.
Yes.
now that you said that.
Yes.
Going to a Diddy party is one thing.
Yes.
Going to a Diddy freak off party is entirely different event.
That's the after.
That's the after party.
Correct.
So if you're going to a Diddy party, the white party, as it's famously known, that's the party. That's the surface party.
Yes.
There's a deeper surface that you didn't attend.
Never.
And for anybody looking to take anything out of context, that is not the issue here.
So I've been to about 3 or 4. I know one was in Las Vegas, 2 were in LA, and 1 was at a hotel, I think, here in LA. I'm not sure. But yes, it was actually all of them were white parties.
Yeah.
This was before. This was after, because he started them in the Hamptons, and then he started expanding like Atlanta and Los Angeles and Vegas. So yes, I did. I was invited. I went.
How were they? Fantastic.
They were good.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mother was there.
Were you getting hit on like all night?
No.
Not just from Diddy per se, but other gentlemen there.
No, actually, no. I never did. I went with friends or coworkers, but it was more of a job thing. Like, let me show up, let me network, and let me talk about it on Monday.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great recap.
The picture I do have on Instagram was a dinner we had at it's the hotel. It was right down the street of the Standard. Actually, it was many years ago, and he was promoting an album. He was in town. He was promoting an album. I interviewed Diddy a few times, twice to promote an album, and as himself, and the third, I think it was one of his groups or something like that.
And how was your interactions with Diddy at that time?
You know, when I first interviewed him, when he was just starting, he was hungry. So, he spoke, he was in the studio maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So the first 2 times were very nice. But the last 2 were kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of too big for this. I don't know if I want to do this interview.
Like it's
how much
beneath
longer.
him.
Yeah, it was kind of beneath him. And, you get annoyed because it's kind of like, well, you asked to be in the studio. You know what I mean? Which I've had some not so great experience with certain artists that are still big till this day.
Sure.
But, here's the thing. No, I never participated in any of the after parties. I just went for basically publicity and marketing. At that time, we didn't have social media, so it was more like, hey, I was there, I saw so-and-so, you talked about it on the radio. You did the recap on Monday, But the thing is that these stories have been around for a really long time. All the stories that you're kind of going into that rabbit hole on TikTok about this celebrity and this celebrity and this celebrity, I've known all about it.
Right.
We know somebody who knows somebody which was either their publicist, their assistant, their paid assistant, their non-paid assistant, their gopher, their makeup artist, and they saw things. Yep. And, I'm going to end it with this. There's there's always a story. You know what a myth is, right?
Yes.
I always say there was a true story behind the myth.
Yeah, there's always some truth to a myth.
There's always some truth. Yeah. It's just that after the 3rd or 4th or 5th person has told the story,
completely different.
When it becomes a myth.
It's a remix at that time.
Exactly. So I have to say that I wasn't surprised. I'm not surprised that he's going to be serving time. I do say, though, that everything done in the dark always comes to the light, and everything that you've done wrong before you die, you will pay for. But what really gets to me is when you fuck up young boys' lives and young girls' lives, and you allegedly use these kids for sex trafficking, and you've been involved, and you've allegedly have drugged these people, whether it's with the baby oil or in the champagne or the drinks, that's a crime in itself.
Yeah.
And that's something that you do have to pay for.
It's wild. And it's crazy because I feel like even though with all that's happened with the Diddy allegations and the freak offs and whatnot, Diddy, along with Michael Jackson, people are still going to be bumping his music. Because, I don't know in what capacity and to what, how far that's going to go. But I know that now, and I don't go to clubs anymore, but if I go to an event or even a wedding reception, I get people that want to hear Michael Jackson. They want to hear that Billie Jean. And that whole past issues with him, they're not thinking about it. They just want to hear the music. Diddy has released some of the greatest records in hip hop culture since the 90s. And I feel like even though he has done a lot of wrong, that version of Diddy is what's being punished, right? Yeah. But the producer version, the people that he put out, Notorious B.I.G. and so forth, those are going to live on. But with R. Kelly, it's a different story. R. Kelly's music is banned from most stations. I don't know how, at least here in LA, you don't hear any R. Kelly on the airwaves. I don't know if you're going to hear Diddy anytime soon, but I feel like he's still going to exist in the clubs. That whole like Hypnotize and going back to Cali and all the records, they're all going to live on.
I think that the music that he produced for different artists will still live on, but songs that he did eventually with his own vocals, those will be pulled off. Because when people hear a Diddy song and his vocals, I think then they're going to cringe little bit.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think, I don't think the Mary J. Blige that he produced for her, I don't think the Biggie, I don't think the 112s, I don't think honestly, I just think that if it's a song with him doing a lyric, like I Need a Girl, I don't think that'll be played often. He'll still get royalties though.
For sure.
He has many children, 8 children that he has to feed. Yeah. But I also feel for his kids. Same. What an embarrassment.
Same.
Gosh, I cringe to know that was rough. Your father. But I will say this, Sketch-O-Matic.
Go ahead.
Every artist has a fucked up side to them.
Totally. That's what makes them so great.
Artist has a fucked up side to them. Mm-hmm. They show their artistry in music, in colors and paintings, but there is something fucked up in their mind.
I will say, if I was Diddy, and this correlates with the election.
Yeah.
If I was Diddy, I would want Trump to win because Trump will pardon Diddy. He'll be like, Diddy's the greatest. We have to have our freak-offs. Every week, we're going to have Freak-Off Friday. I'm making it a national holiday, Nautica. Are you with me?
Well, I mean, the election is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on the election? I'm glad you said that because I was about to just segue, and then we'll wrap. What's the thoughts on the election? Final thought. Go ahead.
I honestly don't like either candidates, but we don't have a choice.
Bingo.
I don't like any candidate, but we don't have
So it comes down to like the best of the worst.
The best of the worst, yeah. It's sad to in my years of living on this planet, it's sad to see what this has come to. This election, this presidency has come to. It really
wild,
is.
Man.
All I want to say is that we need to improve the economy. We need to make changes. People are struggling out here. Mm-hmm. They don't know how they're going to eat, how they're going to survive, how they're going to pay their rent.
I'm one of them.
Rent is expensive as fuck right now. God. You know what I mean? You have to consider shit. I've even considered, like, am I going to get a 2-bedroom and get a roommate?
Right, I'll move in with you. Yeah, I do dishes.
You clean?
Yeah.
It's just, life is just expensive.
It's in LA. In LA, it's insane. Go ahead.
It's getting everywhere. Yeah. New York is horrible. San Francisco. Yeah. I mean, but the places that are affordable, Atlanta, Texas, Arizona, Florida, nobody wants to fucking move there because of the weather.
And the weather.
We pay for the weather here in Los Angeles. It is a privilege.
Yep.
We pay for the weather. That's what we pay for.
We pay for the weather. We pay for just being able to say you live in LA. For me, living across the street from Warner Brothers, like I said off pod, and I've said it on the pod, I had to sell my car to afford to live there. Now, granted, I live across the street. I don't work here in the building. I work from home. Right. But I was financing my car an extra $1,000 a month. Wow. I paid just under $2,000, Nautica, for a studio apartment across the street from the Warner Brothers water tower. That's the sell.
Wow.
And it has its own washer and dryer inside the unit, and it's pretty big. Considering it's a studio apartment, it has its own kitchen, its own little washer and dryer room, its own nook, and then the living room / bedroom part of the apartment is like a little bigger than this studio that we're in without all the cabinetry, right? So it's nice, but I'm used to having a 1-bedroom. I have a carport, a garage that I can't put a car in because I don't own one.
Wow.
So it's like I had to sacrifice the driving a car in LA, which not having a car in LA is fucking blasphemy.
Oh.
But
brutal.
It's a sacrifice I was willing to make to allow myself peace of mind. No more worrying about gas, insurance, and maintenance on the car. Forget just the $750 bill a month, but you don't have to worry about any of that shit anymore. It saved me over $10,000 a year, and I just sold the car like a little over 2 years ago.
Wow.
Or maybe just 2 years ago. And even though I'm saving $10,000 a year, I don't see it. I'm like, what am I buying? What am I spending my money on that's so expensive? Because I'm not a flashy person.
No.
I'm wearing joggers and a hoodie and my LA Dodgers hat. Go Dodgers. My point is like the sacrifices I've had to make to stay in the city, just like you contemplating getting a 1-bedroom apartment and getting a roommate. I've had talks with my sister, Raina. I'm like, Raina, I may have to move up there with you for a couple of months.
Wow.
Because it's just too expensive here. And I know times are tough all across the board. It's not just me. The state tax is 14% in California alone.
Yeah.
And it's probably just going to go up to like 15 or 16 by the year 2027. Who knows?
Yeah. And we're taxed on everything.
Yeah, everything.
We pay taxes. We're taxed on what we buy. Then we're taxed on it again. It's fucking ridiculous. It really is.
Well, let's start looking for an apartment.
Okay.
Be a roommate. I'll wash the dishes. I'll mop up, and I'm quiet too because I edit in my headphones. I don't even edit on speakers.
That's
how
awesome.
Considerate I am.
Oh wow, I love it.
Nautica de la Cruz,
Yes.
I love you. I
love you
appreciate
too.
you. This is the longest conversation you and I have ever had. I mean, it's fantastic.
I love it.
I'd like to invite you back on the pod again once we've lived a little bit more life.
Yes.
And
I would love that.
Any closing thoughts? Any final words?
You know what? I just want to say thank you. Thank you for always being a wonderful individual, human being, and a good friend. And anything you ever need, let me know. And don't feel shy, even if you don't talk to me for a year and you say, hey, Nautica, I need you for a voiceover for something.
Yeah.
I'll be your girl. And it's open arms. It's nothing but love. And if I ever hear of anything for you as job wise or, whatever extra hustle money, I will let you know as always. And it's nothing but love. And I think that the friendships that we have made in this business, in this industry, in radio, we have to cultivate them and keep up with people from time to time.
Yeah.
I send big a Merry Christmas, Happy Father's Day, Happy Birthday message. His birthday is in September
just passed,
too.
right?
Yeah.
September 9th, which by the way is ironically the same day my mom passed away.
Oh,
and
so
it's the
sorry.
same date as my ex-girlfriend's birthday.
Oh my God.
Talk about how numbers work.
Yes.
And since we're on the subject of birthdays, before we close out, finally, when you brought up Alicia Keys earlier, I forgot to mention that Alicia Keys and I share the same birthday.
Ooh.
January 25th.
Then it was meant to have that conversation.
Go ahead.
But thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the listeners that listen on your podcast. And I just want to say I'm here, and you could reach me at Nautica de la Cruz on Instagram. And I return messages myself. It's not a virtual assistant. I return. If you have questions about radio or podcasting, let me know. I'm here. And mwah, I love you.
And just don't slide into her DMs, guys, and be like, man, you beautiful. Can I take you out? Don't do that, okay? All right, there it is. Nautica de la Cruz on the Sketcho Show podcast. Thank you, Nautica.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, good for you. And how was it?
The Sketchomatic Show.
Hey, too much information and shit, man.
Shut your mouth, essay.
Okay, bye.
Oh, but the fucking lines. Hey, beautiful. How you doing, sexy? What's going on? What do you do? I'm like, motherfucker, can you look at where it says right there on the top? What do I do? Where I'm from? It says New York to the Bay to LA. Like,